That's an interesting overtime penalty call in the Edmonton game. It's a penalty, but it's an interesting overtime penalty.
I didn't see it.
Just watching it right now.
I know that the Kings tied it on the power play.
Right, and then they won it on the power play as well. The penalty at the end of regulation was a legit cross check.
Yeah.
This one, the guy kind of fell down and slung his arm and caught him with the stick. It's a penalty, but
But if you're Edmonton, you can't blow 2-0 3-1/3 period leads.
Nope.
And the Panthers blew whatever chance they had of making it a series last night.
Did you mean Lion, not Ryan, when you text me? I was confused.
No, Lion.
Well, you text Ryan.
Oh, okay. Well, then.
I was like.
No, Lion. And I know he made some good saves, but you can't let in a soft goal. And he let in two. Yeah, Paul, the Panthers are cooked. Boston did not play well last night by their standards. And Bergeron didn't even suit up. I mean, morning, everybody. By the way, he grabbed Draymond's leg. Okay. Double technical, fine. Okay. And I understand that Draymond then, as he realized he was falling, okay, gave it a little oomph. But I'm sorry, that's not an ejection. He grabbed his foot. He put him off balance. As Draymond said afterwards, the only way I could have avoided stepping on him was I would have had to extend my leg another 2+ feet and wrist injury. I'm sorry. Sabonis instigated that. Double technical, move on. Coffin ball, this can't be a surprise.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Sports continues to deliver on and off the playing field. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. NHL playoffs got underway last night. NBA playoffs continuing. And quarterbacks are getting paid. Happy Tuesday, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great. NHL playoffs started last night. I mean, how can you not be in a good mood? Playoff hockey, 4 games. They just ended about 20 minutes ago, the double overtime game between Dallas and the Wild. Just wrapping up.
I will say, ESPN should know, because they've done hockey before, you can't try to fit these games in the slots that you're because also you're not dropping the puck the way you do in the regular season. The whole 7:30, 10 o'clock thing. Yeah, 10 o'clock's now going to be 10:20. Why? Because you're not dropping the puck before 7:40. I mean, you're not. You got to get in all your pregame stuff and what have you. So, the whole late games, I mean, it's going to be tough for people east of the Mississippi to watch the late hockey games. They just are. I mean, the basketball games start much closer to when they're supposed to than the hockey games in the playoffs, which is totally the opposite of the regular season. Just had to get that out. I mean, Kings Oilers started at 10:20.
Yes, it did.
I'm supposed to stay with this sucker and it goes overtime? Come on now. I made the call last night. I went to bed.
I did too. It was game one.
Right.
I'm not investing that kind of time in game one. Now, if there was some elimination possibilities, then maybe I would have stayed up a little longer for the two late games. But no, watch the Panthers and the Bruins, and well, that was their chance, folks.
Yeah, that series is over. That series is over. Maybe Florida wins a game, but I mean, Boston did not play well last night. They even admitted afterwards they were nervous. We played a little nervous. I mean, Boston was not good through two periods and led 3-1. I mean, the goalie
then just put the squash on Florida in the third period and said, "You're not scoring."
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And by the way, if you really think you're going to beat us firing shots from 50 to 60 feet away, if this is your game plan, you're not going to shoot in close. You're just going to keep shooting from the point. All right. Hoping for rebounds and deflections. That's your entire offense. We got this. We got this. I appreciate the effort. No. The stat sheet will look great. You'll have more shots than us, zone time. You'll keep passing it around the boards. It'll be cute. That'll be fun. But you see this big square area here? This is where the Stanley Cup is won, right here. It's a 25, 30 feet in front of the goal. And if you're not even going to put the puck in that square area, we're good.
Hell, the only time they got it on was kind of a fluky play. I mean, their goal was fluky. There's just no two ways about it.
But guess where it was scored? In that square area right there. Yeah. How about that? How about that? So that series is over. That's just a matter of, is it going to be 4 or 5?
And Miller, Moulton, and Maurice being Paul were all wrong because the goaltender that they chose was the wrong one. He played badly last night. He made some big saves, and that's fine. And Line was nice and made some saves early, but he gave up 2 bad goals. You cannot give up bad goals to a better team. It doesn't work.
No, you need the other guy to give up a soft goal. I mean, literally gave up a goal on a shot that Miller and Moulton would have stopped. That's not an exaggeration, by the way. So that was fun. Okay. Now we can go on to the series that are going to be competitive. Lightning Leafs. Let's do this.
I will say no one cares, but Carolina and the Islanders is going to go a little further. That's going to be a really competitive series. And nobody cares. Just the same way no one really cares about Dallas and the Wild. Will be a really competitive series.
Oh, no. That'll be a terrific series. A terrific series. A lot of people riding Minnesota, and they won a double overtime last night. Oh, no. That'll be fun. Plus the one franchise used to be the other. So you got that whole thing working. Which is strange. Like you got Mike Modano, who was drafted number 1 overall by the Minnesota North Stars. And then a third of the way into his career, they moved to Dallas and become the Dallas Stars. He then becomes their captain, leads them to the Cup, has his banner up in the rafters where? In Dallas. Who does he currently work for? The Minnesota Wild. Yeah, that's your hockey life full circle right there. That's what we got going on in that series. Stories like that.
And for the second year in a row, the Edmonton Oilers lose game 1 of their playoff series to the LA Kings. They won last year. We'll see what happens this time.
Despite totally outplaying them. Lightning Leafs. The Leafs haven't won a playoff series in 19 years. They haven't won a Stanley Cup in 56. Canada hasn't won a cup in 30. The Lightning have been to the last 3 cups, won 2 of them. Last year, they did so going through the Leafs in heartbreaking, crushing, just soul-wrenching fashion. Toronto was up 3-2 and was dominating overtime of game 6. Dominating. Like 15 shots to 1 in the overtime. They were buzzing around the best goalie in the world, Vasilevsky, who said, "Not tonight, boys. Not tonight. No, sir." Tampa steals it. They go back to Toronto, beat them 2-1, and a nation has wept ever since. And now here we go. The Lightning, similar to last year, maybe not quite as good. Maybe just slightly less than what they had last year at this time. And the Leafs have the best roster they've put together in 50 years.
Tampa has been, I think they're, since the All-Star break, the 24th best team.
Right. They've been
No, I mean, in Toronto's like the 6th best team.
Yeah.
Since the break.
Right.
Maybe even a little higher than that. Toronto's finished on made good moves at the deadline. They seem to be paying off. Every single thing in this series favors the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Correct.
Every single thing. And that's not trying to knock the Lightning. I still think the Lightning win the series.
There is one thing that does clearly favor the Lightning, though, and it happens to be the biggest factor in playoff hockey success. Mark, who's the best goalie in the world?
Vasilevsky.
Who does he play for?
Tampa Bay Lightning.
There you go. There you go. I can't get enough of this series. Honestly. And my favorite team's going to be playing their games directly opposite this series. And I can't get enough of this series. Honestly, the storylines in this series are the type they make movies about. And you're actually interested in. And you don't normally watch a hockey movie. That's how great the storylines are in this series.
And everybody wants to know, can the Lightning flip a switch? I still believe they can.
Yes.
And that's why I'm picking them.
Absolutely.
I think that they were sleepwalking through the second half of the season. They knew they were going to play. Boston was so far out in front of everyone that the regular season was meaningless to a team that's been to 3 Cup finals and won 2. They get this. Now, the difference is the stars for Tampa are all on the back 9 of their career. They are.
Braden Point?
No, everyone else.
Right. Point's, I think, approaching the turn. Okay.
But
yes, Stamkos,
the Maple Leaf stars are on the 4th tee, David. They're just starting there.
In theory, right. Of course, I say you have to accomplish something before we call you a star. I mean, even Connor McDavid got to a conference final last year.
Well, Austin Matthews is a star in that league. He is.
Score a big goal in the spring, Austin. Score a big goal in the spring.
And it's his time.
Yep.
Because they're in their mid-20s. The only point I am making, David, I'm not talking about what they've done in the past. What I'm talking about is right now.
Mm-hmm.
The
you're right.
Players for the Leafs are in their prime.
Exactly.
The core players for the Lightning have mostly passed their prime.
Absolutely. The Leafs are somewhere between where the Lightning were in 2019 and 2020. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And nothing's riding on this. A GM, a coach, and a whole team being dismantled if the Lightning take them down. A whole damn team.
Mark, 3/4 of a nation is riding on this. If the Lightning beat the Leafs, you, me, and 4 other guys will be able to invade Canada and take over the country. That's how weakened their defense system will be. They will be in a fetal position, crying in the corner of the room. As a nation, there will be no crossing guards at the border. We will literally be able to hitchhike our way and take over the country. At least the eastern, like 2/3 of it. Maybe the western third or quarter, they may have some playoff success. They may, activate the Mounties and be
Well, we'd have trouble in Alberta.
Right. I think we'd get to Calgary, and after that, we'd be in trouble.
Right.
But we can get right through Winnipeg.
Quebec would fall in 4 minutes. They're numb right
Correct.
now. The Canadians are so bad.
Yeah. Ottawa, Quebec, Montreal, correct. No doubt. And once we take Toronto, then it's clear through to Winnipeg. No doubt. Nothing riding on this. Nothing. Could be the end for the Lightning as we know them. I mean, this could be their last great moment, this group. Stamkos, Hedman, and the like. Maybe. And the Leafs desperately hoping for one.
Great show lined up for you today. Pat Kirwan on the show, David Samson on the show, and we'll talk Lightning and Leafs as well. Starting 5 coming up in 25 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I don't have an answer for you, Ambien. Hopefully the Twitch chat can do better than me, because that's where I'd go. I'd go Clareton. That's what works.
Zyrtec? That work at all? It's only one pill a day. It was supposed to last 24 hours. It took a day, like the second day that I was on Zyrtec, it began to work here in Jacksonville. Allergies seem worse in the last 2 months than I think anything I've encountered in Florida. Yeah, right. It's funny. I'm totally with you. The different allergies in different parts of the country. I'm so with you.
What do you mean it's adjusting its burgers? They're getting smaller?
Oh, everything's getting smaller.
I mean, it does say it's a quarter pounder. I would like to.
Right. Of course, that's pre-cooked. Changing the sauce in the Big Mac? Are they out of their minds? Oh, Johnny. We interviewed him, 3 months ago?
All right. More melted cheese, more Big Mac sauce.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
A
we're
softer
making
bun, more melted cheese.
So we're making the Big Mac bigger. More cheese, more sauce. Now we're talking. Love when we start talking food at 6:20. Doesn't make us hungry or anything.
I know it's not a Big Mac, but the last time I had a Whopper, I almost threw up.
There's a lot of stuff on that.
When is the last time I had a Whopper?
That is a messy sandwich.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think I've had a Whopper in 25 years.
Wow. So
No.
you have not had a Whopper.
I hate Burger King.
I know that.
Hate
Burger
it.
King's
But so you've not had a Whopper since you moved to Southwest Florida.
Guaranteed.
We're coming back.
Wow.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson joins us at the top of the hour. If David Samson was with us during that last commercial break, this show would officially be off the rails, and I don't know if we'd be able to get it back. We broadcast live every day, Miller and Moulton channel on twitch.tv. And our Twitch audience has been with us faithfully for a few years now, since our second act. And this is act 3, for those of you just stumbling upon us. It's like year 16 or 17, something like that. We're in our third act. So usually we talk sports. And we got off on a food tangent, courtesy of the Twitch chat room. And Mark Miller with a shocking statement.
Is it shocking?
I think it is. It's that fine line between surprising and shocking. All right. But you contend what?
Felipe said during the break that he had a Whopper. and that he didn't like it. I won't get into how much he didn't like it, but he didn't like the Whopper.
And
I
I
said
said,
the last time I had a Whopper, I almost threw up.
Okay, well there it is.
It's
well,
terrible.
we were
Any chance of
trying.
Burger King coming on board as
Yeah,
a sponsor
exactly.
just disappear.
Felipe, that's something you need to keep in mind when you're a part
Sorry.
of other shows and what have you. We're all trying to secure sponsors, so we don't normally, like Mark. Okay, in our first act, okay, there was the possibility of us getting sponsorship from Outback, and Mark just blurted out, "What?"
I hate blooming onions.
Oh,
And he referred to it as dog food.
Dog food.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We literally were on the verge of a regional buy. Okay. And so that was like our first lesson with Exnay on the telling all of the truth.
But I don't eat fast food.
Right.
Period. We don't take my daughter. I don't know if my daughter's ever had McDonald's. I seriously don't know if she's ever had a Mickey D's burger.
Right.
And she'll be
And-
9 coming up here in a few weeks.
Right. Okay. And then that's, I congratulate you. I think that's, so, and you've been married, what, 11 years? And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Getting there.
Okay. Yeah. And you've been healthier in your nearly quarter century in Southwest Florida. You've been healthier in the second half than you were in the first half. Agreed?
Yeah, I mean, minus the drinking, but there's always that.
Well, see, I'm an Irish Catholic. I don't consider that unhealthy. But from a food standpoint, Mark Miller made the contention, and I'm going to speak of you in the third person here.
Thank you.
Okay, as if you're not here. Okay, as if somehow you're listening to the show, but you're not actually a part of Miller and Moulton. Mark Miller contends he has not had a Whopper in 25 years.
Yeah, I really don't think I've had a Whopper since I've lived in Southwest Florida.
And that to me was a wow. I mean, never mind the fact that, I have one a week. But
Really? You still go back there?
now I have to admit, I may not necessarily get a Whopper. It's not in my top 3 at that particular establishment.
So you have a
Okay.
top 3 there.
Mark, I have a top 3 everywhere. If there's a drive-through, I have a top 3. It's kind of like the women I'm allowed to cheat on my wife with. Every single fast food place has a Halle Berry. Okay.
They don't.
Every single one has an Elizabeth shoe. Okay. I'm just telling you, they do.
I will say those chicken fries,
See?
Ooh.
See?
spicy chicken fries too.
Like I said, every place has a Halle Berry. Okay.
If
I
you
know you
say
have-
so.
I know you haven't thought of it that way, but you know what? If we hit a few drive-throughs together, there's one thing on every menu that makes an eye raise up and go, haven't had one of those in a while. 25 years, though, without a Whopper. Wow. Well done. Well done.
Whopper.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like I've accomplished something now. I didn't think it was that big of a deal until the shocked David Moulton came at me with how can that be? But I've lived a pretty decent life without
I know.
a Burger King drive-through.
No, you have. Mark Miller has. I'm going to continue this third person thing.
Okay.
Are you guys annoyed by those ads? The Whopper ads?
No,
No.
Because they really are everywhere.
no, you rule. Knock yourself out.
Yeah. Right.
I don't eat
Whatever
Arby's.
works.
I used to like Arby's in another life. I don't eat Arby's anymore. I love their ads.
Their ads are great.
We have the meats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Right.
good ads.
Intense music.
Mark, how many times, Mark Miller, do you drive by an Arby's? You don't stop, but you then start to do the commercial. Hey, Arby's, we have the meats. Right. And you keep
Every
going.
time.
Right. Do the James Earl Jones.
It's
voice.
got that vibe to it in the
Right.
commercial.
Keep
Right.
going. Right.
I don't do
Well done.
Mickey D's anymore. I like the guy that does the bada bum bum bum. I think the ads are cute. That's for lack of a better term. Not working on me because I don't do fast food. And
And nothing like talking food in the first half hour of the show. Not that it makes us hungry or anything. Not that there may be 2 DoorDash orders coming, before Pat Kirwan in the 8 o'clock hour.
Onion rings.
Miller, that is an advantage, by the way, that BK, I think, has over some of the others, is that every now and then you can go, ooh, I can get onion rings here.
There's like 2 fries in every order of onion rings.
Yes, there are. That I do know.
Yes.
And they're really crispy.
Yes.
They're the 2 crispiest fries you will ever eat. They're not very good, but they're really crispy.
If you get BK fries, they're not as good as BK fries with onion rings.
Now, you feel like you've won the lottery, though, when at the bottom of your fries there's an onion ring.
Yes.
No. That's when you're like, I got to go get a lottery ticket. All right. This is the kind of day I'm having right here. At least that's how I feel.
Too bad they don't sell lotto tickets through drive-thrus. You might buy more.
I'd buy on the way and buy double cheeseburgers. Hey, is this 2 for 1? No? All right. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Listen, I don't know if you stayed up late. You didn't have to. It's everywhere on social media. I didn't think Draymond's act has worn thin on me. I think Draymond is this generation's Rodman. I do. The greatness and the annoyance, okay, minus the wedding dress. I really do. Minus the wedding dress and the makeup, I think he's Dennis Rodman. Okay, but with that said, I didn't think he should have been ejected last night. I thought the guy clearly grabbed him, and that made him off balance. He had nowhere to go with that leg and foot. Now, did he put in extra little effort when he
a lot of
stopped him?
extra effort?
Yeah, he did. But I didn't think it was worthy of an ejection, especially in a playoff game. Okay, a Monday in January, fine. Okay.
Problem is, and this is where familiarity with officials comes into play. He has the reputation, and I thought he stopped. And I'm a Draymond guy.
I know you are.
I had no problem with the ejection.
I did. No, I don't think it cost him the game. It didn't help. All right. Sacramento grabbed some key offensive rebounds down the stretch that they may not have gotten if Draymond was still in there. But I mean, they were down like a half a dozen at the time and came back to tie it after the ejection. So I don't think it cost them the game. But
I think if that game was in San Francisco, there would not have been an ejection.
Now the question is he going to get suspended for game 3?
I hope not.
Yeah, but do you think he will?
I don't.
I don't either.
No, I don't think he will.
I mean, Mike Brown's calling for it. I mean, he went right to the Phil Jackson school, Pat Riley school. He went right to that microphone after the game. Sabonis.
Oh, he's got to get X-rays for his ribs and his lungs.
Oh yeah,
they're negative. They're negative. He's fine, guys.
No, not according to Mike Brown. I mean, honestly.
Oh wait, Mike Brown is Draymond's former assistant coach.
Right. No. Sabonis is worthy of a Purple Heart, apparently, for what he suffered and went through last night. But Sacramento doing something to Golden State, which literally no one has done during this run. We'll talk about it next.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By the way, Felipe, what choices you have for play of the day? You can go with either or both overtime winners in hockey. Okay. Plus, what was the other thing here? I mean, you could have gone with the Draymond thing. Yeah, there was something else I thought you could have gone with.
I certainly had options.
I mean, you have options.
What NBA highlight did you go with?
You'll see.
No, it's an NBA highlight. Why would it be a game winner?
You're not going with the NBA. Unless it's Draymond. But
You in the audience will have to wait.
I queue up those two hockey overtime goals, baby. Sunseeker.
Is KW, is that the one Allegiant owns? Is that their thing? And whoever put that link on there, it didn't come all the way through for whatever reason. I clicked on it and it just sent me to it said that page doesn't exist. So whatever link someone gave me for the good, if you could repost it, that would be outstanding.
Oh, yeah. Did you see the video? He tripped them. Guy's trying to flee the cops, pulls into a cul-de-sac. Guy's delivering 2 pizzas to this woman. Right as she gets to the front door, he kind of hears the chase. He turns around. He starts walking down the driveway.
That's a good. Now we're done with that segment.
Guy's trying to flee the cops. He runs right by the pizza delivery guy who sticks his foot out and trips him.
Oh, I saw that. Did he like
It was
he put his
great
hand back?
video. The doorbell cam caught the whole thing. It was great. Right. Then he just turns around, delivers the pizza. Yeah, we should get Harlan calling it. He's
Calling
always good. The pizza delivery guy with the play of the day. He's always good with like those squirrels and what have you.
Or people running on the field.
Right.
The guy is drunk, but there he goes.
The pizza delivery guy was 6'8".
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, he was. I didn't realize he was that tall, but he was a big dude.
Former lacrosse goalie.
He's grabbing the wrong boards.
Tyler Morrell.
20 bars? Seriously? Wow. Interesting.
Ten seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson at the top of the hour, Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, and the Lightning and the Leafs get it on again. Henry Yoho will join us in 2 hours' time as we further dive in to the Lightning trying to make the Stanley Cup Finals for a 4th year in a row. How remarkable would that be? Hasn't been done in 40 years. Right now, it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
the NHL playoffs may have gotten underway last night, and the NBA playoffs were pretty interesting last night. But the big story in sports, Jalen Hurts got paid. He'll play this year, although he got a raise, final year of his rookie deal as a second-round pick. And then he got a 4-year, or 5-year, I should say, 5-year contract extension at $51 million a year. Thank you very much. That's 5 for $255. 70% of it, or $179 million, is fully guaranteed. Oh, yeah, and he got the first ever no trade clause in franchise history. Hurts is 24, But here's the genius that is Howie Roseman, the Eagles general manager. And then don't ask us how they do this. It's federal budget maneuvering. So he's going to get $179 million guaranteed, and he's going to get $255 over 5 years from 2024 through 2028. And yet his salary cap figures for the next 4 years, counting this year, $6 million. Next year, $13.5. 2025, he's going to count $22 million. 2026, he's going to count $32 million. They give you that upfront, the signing bonus money, and then they backload it in the 5 years. But anyway, for the next 4, basically, while they're paying him guaranteed money, that's what his salary cap figure is. If they want to get rid of him after that, they'll owe him a few million, but it ain't going to hurt the cap all that much. I don't know how they do it either. It beats me. I feel like they go to Congress and they ask if they can have the debt ceiling raised. It's something like that. So what do you think, Mark? Hurts, first quarterback to average over 50.
Look, I love the Eagles for getting this done and not wasting any time. I applaud any team. We applauded Mahomes. They got off cheap, did Kansas City, signing Mahomes way ahead of time. He left a bunch of money on the table. I applaud the Eagles for getting this done when they did it.
And of course, then everybody goes, oh, what's it going to cost to sign Justin Herbert? What's it going to cost to sign Joe Burrow? What about Trevor Lawrence? What if Tua has a big year and stays healthy? They're going to get paid. That's what's going to happen. The first digit's now a 5. The question becomes who and when makes the first digit a 6. By the way, it was made official yesterday. It was reported over the weekend. The Dolphins signed wide receiver formerly known as Robbie Anderson. He legally changed his first name to Chosen Anderson. No, it's no joke. 29-year-old wide receiver, formerly of the Jets, Panthers, and Arizona Cardinals. All right, to the Stanley Cup playoffs, which got underway last night. Florida blew a golden opportunity. Boston was mediocre at best, and Bergeron was out of the lineup with a flu. But Alex Lyon let in 2 soft goals. They took a bad penalty. Pasternak scored a power play goal. Marchand scored the weakest goal you're going to see in the playoffs. That gave Boston a 2-0 lead. They went on to win it 3-1. Game 2 is Wednesday. This series is over. Boston will not play another game in the playoffs as they did last night. Carolina scored 2 power play goals. That was enough. They beat the Islanders 2-1. The Wild beat the Stars in double overtime. Fredrik Gustafsson with 51 saves for Minnesota in the 3-2 win. And Edmonton blew a 2-0 and 3-1 third period lead. Anze Kopitar with a goal and 3 assists. He tied it with 17 seconds left in regulation, helped set up the game winner. LA Kings in overtime over Edmonton, who hadn't lost in the final 3 weeks of the regular season. Yeah, this is the playoffs, baby. 4-3 Kings. Tonight, Leafs Lightning, Rangers Devils, Jets and Golden Knights, Kraken and Avs. I actually think that could be a decent series. Colorado's not nearly the team that they were last year. They got key injuries and still don't have a second line center.
Don't have their captain. He's out for the playoffs.
Right.
You're right. I mean, I disagree with you, but I think it could hurt the Avs' chances next round more than it will hurt their chances against the Kraken.
I hope it goes 6 so that Seattle can get 3 home games. NBA playoffs. Philly takes a 2-0 lead over Brooklyn, although they struggled. They were losing at the half, only up 5 going to the fourth. Tyrese Maxey with 33 points. Sixers 96-84 over the Nets. Game 3 is Thursday. And Sacramento did something to Golden State that no team has done during this whole run, going back to when Mark Jackson was coaching Golden State in 2014. No one had put the Warriors in a 2-0 deficit. And the Sacramento Kings did last night. 114-106. Draymond Green gets ejected mid-fourth quarter for stomping on Sabonis, who had grabbed his other leg. Draymond a little off balance, but he made sure to give Sabonis a love tap. Sabonis led the Kings with 24 points. Game was tied with 5.5 minutes to go, and Sacramento took over from there. But the Kings up 2 spit on the Warriors.
Light the beam, baby. Light the beam.
Light the beam.
Light the beam.
Could have an energy crisis in California. I don't know. But in the northern part of the state, they're lighting the beam. Tonight, Hawks and Celtics. By the way, did you hear the news? Mike Bray is moving to Atlanta, and he's going to join Quinn Snyder's staff next year with the Atlanta Hawks. All those years in college basketball. Like, I think I'm done. I'm moving. And, I've known Quinn Snyder a long time. He said he wants me around. Yeah, okay, sure, what the heck. It's either that or do television. He decided he could make more money and, get more of the food paid for. So anyway, Game 2 tonight, Hawks Celtics. Game 2, Knicks Cavs tonight. Josh Hart looks as if he's not going to play for the Knicks. And Game 2, Clippers Suns tonight. Jaren Jackson Jr. of Memphis won the Defensive Player of the Year award, second youngest to ever do so. Bam Adebayo finished 5th in the voting. Major League Baseball, Rays have lost 3 of 4. Josh Lowe had a homer in the ninth to avoid the shutout since he beat him 8-1 in front of 7,375.
Where are you going to go?
Apparently anywhere else.
Right.
The Marlins got a pinch hit. Jorge Soler, 2-run homer in the 7th to beat the Giants 4-3. Miami's 9-8 on the young season in front of 8,744. You can count the Red Sox out of the Ohtani sweepstakes. That was the joke after yesterday. It was raining late morning, and the Red Sox decided we're going to start this game with the Angels. And so Ohtani was warming up on a muddy mound. He pitched 2 innings through the downpour. Then they stopped for a long rain delay, so he couldn't come back in and pitch. So the joke was, well, the Red Sox are out of the Ohtani sweepstakes. Angels scored 5 early, held off Boston 5-4 on Patriots Day. Braves are 13-4. Thank you very much. They won their 7th straight. Austin Riley with a 2-run homer. They beat the Pods 2-0. Mets have won 5 in a row, and they're still 2 back of Atlanta. Daniel Vogelback with a homer and 3 RBIs. 8-6 Mets over the Dodgers. Brewers are 12-5. They beat Seattle 7-3. Hey, the Cubs are off to a decent start. I mean, they're 2 games behind the Brewers, but they're 9-6 anyway. They beat Oakland 10-1 in front of 4,714 out in Oakland.
More possums than fans?
Well, at least in the visitors' broadcast booth, Mark, much is being made because the New York media found out about the whole possums in the booth because the Mets radio crew got moved, TV crew. And sure enough, the Cubs TV crew got moved as well because of the possums in the booth.
Well, and it's not just the possums at the booth. It's the smell in the booth from the possums being in the booth. Apparently,
Right.
the possums have made the visiting television booth their own personal litter box.
Apparently, they are living in the walls. So they know they're there. They're just not doing anything about it. Cubs 10-1 over the A's. Patrick Wisdom with 2 more homers. That's 5 in 4 games. He's got 8 on the season. Pittsburgh 14-3 over Colorado. They scored 6 in the second. Pirates are 10-7. Rockies are 5-12. 7-run first for Houston. They beat Toronto 9-2. Pavin Smith with a slam. Arizona 6-3 over St. Louis. Texas gave up 1 hit to Kansas City, but Jacob deGrom had to leave the start after 4 hitless innings due to a sore right wrist. They say it's a precaution. Ask a Mets fan about that. 4-0 Texas over Kansas City. Rangers off to a 10-6 start. Royals are 4-13. By the way, that game took 2 hours and 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Giancarlo Stanton. Tell me if you've ever heard this before. He's on the IL, expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. It's only his 7th trip to the IL since 2019. They ran the Boston Marathon yesterday. Evans Chibet won the men's race in a little over 2:05. That's fast. Just if you're wondering, that's really fast. 26 plus miles in 125 minutes.
Right.
Do the math. And Helen Obery won the women's division in 2:21. That also is very fast.
She sounds like a Helen.
How do you know? She's so far ahead of you. Tough to trash talk her. Hey, slow down. This Boston Marathon, 10 years after the bombing. And gentlemen, at 10 minutes before the hour, that was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Can I throw this out at you, Mike Brown? Owner, Grand Poobah, the Cincinnati Bengals. If Joe Burrow decides to pull a Lamar Jackson, tell me what leverage you have. I'll hang up and listen.
None. Absolutely none. He could hold that entire franchise hostage if he wanted to.
I mean, good luck trying to badmouth them. Seriously. You've just had the best 2 seasons back-to-back in your franchise's history. You've never done anything like that. Go to back-to-back conference championship games, go to a Super Bowl. No. You're the Bengals, known as the Bungles. Oh, by the way, Mike Brown, word is you're trying to get funding for a new stadium. How are you going to get that without the pride of Ohio at quarterback, Joe Burrow? I'm sorry. I said I was going to hang up and listen.
Are you just going to knock his wardrobe? I mean, what is it you're going to try to take shots at?
Knock occasionally how he tries to spell his last name, E-A-U-X, to still stay tied into all the Cajuns at LSU. I don't know. I'm just saying. See, with Lamar, he's gotten hurt twice. Okay, they only one playoff win,
Well, and Lamar missed a playoff game that people think he could have played in. Whether or not he could have is irrelevant. People felt that he could have sucked it up to play in that playoff game. There's none of that with Joe Burrow.
No. I mean, I'm just saying, if he does something crazy like 7 years, $400 million, fully guaranteed, you talk to my agent, and he walks out of the room.
It's amazing why we allow fully guaranteed in most every other sport. Football doesn't like it. That's the only thing, David, that would hurt Joe Burrow slightly, is asking for a fully guaranteed contract. I'm telling you that right now. The fan base of the sport does not like that idea. They love the way it is right now.
Yes, but what about his fan base and their fan base? Okay, around the country, some fans may go, "Oh, he's being obnoxious, arrogant." Yeah, what are they going to say in Cincinnati?
Where are you going to go?
Pay the man his money. David Samson is next. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. David, what's the guy's name from Jersey Mike's?
Hmm?
Oh, what's the guy's name from Jersey Mike's?
Jim.
Wellbank?
Yeah.
Wondering if he can get us with people above him. He used to have pretty good opportunities to do that now that we're on in places.
Am I calling David?
No.
Oh, okay.
The glove is back.
Glove's never left.
I thought the glove had left.
No, he's going to a real studio at some point.
Gotcha. Guess I did notice the glove last time. That's because he was already sitting in it, probably.
Yeah, there you go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. That looks like a tuxedo jacket.
It's not, but I can see the mistake. But it's not. I'd like to say that. I'm coming right from a party, but I'm not.
Right.
Well, I mean,
we thought he was a former executive. He's actually James Bond. He just went out and.
You are in the city.
Stomped on by Draymond Green. That's about how I feel.
We're coming back.
Got stomped on at a 5 a.m. party on the Lower East Side.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is that day and time of the week in which it is time for David Samson. He of the Daily, 8 a.m. live, Monday through Friday, Nothing Personal with David Samson podcast, part of the Meadowlark Media empire now. Have you started that business show with John Skipper yet?
So we do it every couple weeks, but we haven't officially launched. Probably middle of May. It'll be a show called The Sporting Class with John Skipper and David Samson, which you're right is not alphabetical. We decided to list our names by height order after an argument.
After an argument?
Oh, I don't understand why he would get top billing just as president of ESPN and chairman of DAZN and chairman of Meadowlark, and I'm just a guy who's trying to cobble together a media career. But I had a few good points. I will say that.
I have to admit, you're cobbling pretty well, at least from where Miller and Moulton sit. That is for sure. Hey, the Boston Marathon was yesterday. You ran that, didn't you?
Yeah, I've done that several times, actually. And it's 10 years since the Boston bombing. And I was not running the 2013 race, but I was watching it. My very good friend is the race director, a man named Dave McGilvery. And he's been the race director for multiple decades. And he was on Team Hold the Plane, which is the group we ran around the world with. And the Boston Marathon, to me, is the most meaningful marathon in the world, even more so than in Athens, where it all started. And just the resilience of the people, the Boston Strong, the Red Sox winning the World Series that year, raising money the way we all still do for the family of Martin Richard, who died in the Boston Marathon bombing, the 8-year-old. It's a very emotional race now.
It is interesting. I mean, people that, to run in this, it's not just being able to run in a marathon. You've got to get sponsors. You got to get permission. This is not just, sign up for the 5K, so to speak. This is an event in and of itself just to get in, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to qualify. So at my age group, you have to do the run about an hour and a half faster than I do it. And so I look the other way, which is I raise money for charity and have a great connection. My funny marathon story, if you'll give me a minute, the first time I ever trained was 2009. And you have to train in hills. And in Florida, the only hills are at the garbage dump. So my friend Mike Hill, who used to be the president of baseball operations for the Marlins and now works in baseball, he and I were running it together for charity. We were running up and down the garbage mountain, and we were slow. And there was a woman who was cruising back past us during the repeats. And she said, "What are you guys training for?" And we said, "Oh, we're training for the Boston Marathon." And she looked at us and said, "Charity bib?" I swear to God, that is a true story. And it was so deflating that it's the second most deflating thing of my life. The first one, sorry to interrupt again, is in Ironman, they put your age on your calf. Little known fact, when you do triathlons, I did the Ironman in Hawaii as a media athlete because they filmed me doing it. I'm the only active team president to have ever done it. And so I had my age on my calf. There is nothing so spectacular as when you're biking and you're staring at people's calves as they go right past you and it says 68, 72, and they are flying. And at the time I was 37 and it was, or 38, whatever I was. And it was just a subjugation of ego, the likes of which I will not forget.
He's David Samson, nothing personal, weekdays live at 8 a.m. And follow him on Twitter at David, the letter P Samson, David P Samson.
We were talking as we came on the stomp last night. Your thoughts on Draymond Green, the stomp on getting him thrown out of the game. First off, did you think it warranted a ejection?
Flagrant 2 is an ejection. If that's not a flagrant 2, then I'm not sure what they'd be waiting for.
He grabbed his leg.
Oh, I understand what you're saying, but you cannot respond disproportionately, period. The flagrant 1, Monty McCutcheon explained it perfectly if you were watching it live, which by the look of all three of us, we were. When you, hopefully that's not insulting. Hey, I went to bed at 6 p.m. So if you grab someone's leg, right, that's a personal foul, technical foul, like, of course. But you have to let your leg free and then go. He let his leg free, Draymond did, and then not just stomped on him, but did it in such a demonstrative way twice. You know very well, and I know, that he could have avoided Sabonis's chest. He could have. He chose not to. It was purposeful. It didn't work, and the Kings are up 2-0.
Listen, if those officials had refereed the Duke-Kentucky game back in '92, they would have ejected Leitner, okay, when he gave a stomp on the Kentucky player, and we would have been denied what I contend is the greatest college basketball game in history.
That is absolute 2020 commenting, and I don't know how to even build sponsors with that sort of analysis, right? Like, of course that's true, but the whole sports world is a but-for world. God, you know how many times I've said, if that ground ball had been 3 inches to the left, it would have been an RBI single and not a double play. Okay, now what? It was a double play.
Hey, when you ran the Marlins, was it a debate as to when you were going to stop beer sales? Because now teams are going, oh, well, these games are a half hour less and we're losing money. Well, we can't have that. So we need to sell beer longer, which, of course, leads into the potential that people are going to be drunk, getting in their cars. Did this make it to your desk?
I'm so glad you asked. I did a segment on this, actually on CNN the other day. Let me tell you the truth about how this works. I would like to say that I thought about this every day, but I had an 18-year career in Major League Baseball, and I thought and never questioned that the rule was, though I had never seen it, that you couldn't sell beer after the 7th inning. I thought it was written somewhere, either in baseball, in the Constitution, not the United States one, the MLB one. Maybe it was in my agreement, in the stadium agreement. I never asked anyone about it, because if I had asked, I promise you that I would have changed beer sales to the 9th inning immediately, and here's why. Don't let anyone fool you and say that they don't sell beer because they don't want people to leave the stadium drunk and they want everyone to be safe. Not true. They stopped selling beer in the stadium because they want to make sure that you don't have crowd control issues if you're losing a game late and everybody's hammered and you're at home and people get unruly. It's not about the safety of the fans driving home, because all these stadiums have bars that stay open after the game where they tell you to go to keep getting hammered, and they don't focus on stopping for an hour and a half and then getting in your car. So the whole thing is absolutely preposterous, and finally there's a way to sell beer for longer with the excuse that the games are shorter. So it's not going to go to the 6th inning. It's not going to stay at the 7th inning. It is going to get later and later, and eventually it's going to be the 9th inning.
Well, Miller and Moulton are trying to figure out with the Stanley Cup playoffs. A lot of hockey games stopped selling beer by the very beginning of the 3rd period. Well, you have a game last night, Minnesota-Dallas goes double overtime. I mean, you're there for nearly 2 hours with no alcohol sales. What the heck?
It really, I get it, right? Now, hockey, when I was growing up back in my day, there was some unruly things going on at the Garden. But I am not saying that there should be a different rule for what happens in a hockey game versus a baseball game. It should be the way a bar is, which is if you are hammered, you cannot be served. It is the discretion of the bartender. And when there are people selling beer, if there's a security issue, you don't sell them the beer. But to take away the right of normal, non-drunk people having a beer, I don't agree with it. And I agree safety is important for our patrons. I agree I don't want anyone to ever drink and drive, but that has nothing to do with me selling beer. It has to do with me deciding who to sell beer to. And it's okay to give discretion to security, to the workers, to the bartenders. I believe that that is an adjustment that should be made.
Jalen Hurts just got paid. That's going to set the market. Just from a front office standpoint, did you ever worry when another guy got a big deal that it was going to affect you signing a player? I mean, how much do you pay? Obviously, you pay attention to what other guys are making, but we're talking about Joe Burrow, what he's going to want, and these other quarterbacks of what they're going to get. How much did the other quarterbacks, these signings, affect you?
Back before you met me, Ichiro signed an extension with the Seattle Mariners, and I went on the Levitard show. I was in San Francisco near the Seals and Alcatraz, and I went on the show live, and I said the Ichiro contract will be the end of baseball as we know it, because they had upped the market so much for a non-power hitting for average Hall of Famer that would impact our ability to sign our free agents. And I got roasted by the Mariners because all I wanted them to say was, we overpaid Ichiro because of what he does for our city, because of the money we get from Japanese sponsorships, etc. Ironically, I had to speak to Ichiro about that when we signed him in Miami because he remembered it. It was that big a deal. But the answer is yes. When the market moves incorrectly, it impacts everybody. The ripple effect impacts everybody. So you say that the Hurts signing is an issue. Well, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I want a bigger guarantee than that and a higher upside than that because he's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
So how much of a grudge did he hold?
0. We laughed about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but he did remember.
Oh, God. It was headlines. I mean, it was insane because it got picked up because I said a team president at the time saying baseball's finished. I knew the headline would be there because it was like an owners meeting where owners get angry with each other, and they do. You think that at owners meetings right now, people don't talk to Steve Cohn or Peter Seiler of the Padres and say, hey, man, you're making us all look bad. We hope you lose a hundo because if you win, we're going to have to act like you, and we don't want to act like you. When teams settle players in arbitration at numbers above where they should, it impacts all the other arbitration-eligible players who that player would be compared to. So, of course, the actions of one impact others, much like in real life.
He's David Samson. Nothing Personal is his daily podcast. He's going to start recording it at 8 a.m., and he does so live Monday through Friday. What are you talking about today, by the way?
Well, I'm going to have to talk about the stomp. That's for sure, and I'm going to have to explain to people what's going on and whether or not they're going to get suspended.
Come on, we got a minute. Would you really suspend him for Game 3 over that?
If I'm the commissioner of basketball, I am suspending Draymond Green. And
You did nothing to the Dallas Mavericks for tanking, but you're going to suspend Draymond Green.
Let me tell you why. Because I cannot have him do what he did with the fans. We cannot have anything that resembles the malice at the palace. And what Draymond Green did was over the top. And I love the Warriors. I love what he adds to the team. But what he did was borderline. He could have really crushed Sabonis's ribs. And then he got into it with the fans. I have to. You asked me if I were commissioner. As a fan, I love it. As commissioner, I've got to do something because I don't want that. And we're going to talk about Fernando Tatis. He's back, baby. And whether or not the Padres are in trouble because Juan Soto has not been Juan Soto.
David Samson, Nothing Personal, weekdays live, 8 a.m. Follow him on Twitter, David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. David, we look forward to this every week. Take care of yourself.
Hey, have a great day. Get some sleep.
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again,
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Thank you for all those that come over and join us for David Samson. Wish you'd stick around a little longer. Our numbers always go way up with David.
Wish we could have him longer. He would probably go about 5 minutes longer with us. Unfortunately, our clock is set up the way it is. And since he does his podcast right at 8, our third segment of the hour is a couple minutes longer than our first segment, but it obviously doesn't work for him. And we can't book it for 8:38 because he may not be done. He may,
Right.
So it's the only time that it works. And I'm serious. He actually, we are in his contract with Meadowlark Media that he gets to do this segment.
Don't know how.
He brought it up and he said, hey, I do a weekly thing with these guys and I don't want to cancel it.
We don't pay him. That's the... So if one of you own a company and want to sponsor that segment, we'd really like it.
Sponsor any of our segments. Apparently all these people listening and no sponsors. It's a hell of a combination. Because there are shows with no listeners and a ton of sponsors. Oh, Jake, the rates are so cheap. Please.
Anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000 a month would get you something really good.
You know, DC, I saw that documentary and how Jermaine O'Neal really got screwed. I agree. You look back at it now.
He only lasted one show on Survivor. How could you even hate him? He was the first one gone, right?
Yeah.
He's got a hell of an agent.
He had to talk it over with his agent, too. Had to tell his agent, I still want to do these guys. His agent was like, what are you talking about? He's like, no. They're my guys. I remember having a conversation with him. He had texted me about the deal that he was going to do. And I said, I'm assuming then that you're done with us. He goes, no, I'm going to keep it. I go, good luck with that. He goes, well, it's my thing. I go, yeah, but they're paying you and your agent's not going to want you to do this. Miller and Moulton's going to get worked into your contract. He said, I'll get it worked into my contract. It's worked into his contract. And his agent's like, you're not getting any money. I'm not getting anything out of this. I was like, I don't know what to tell you.
What a guy.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan, talk all things NFL. Big story, arguably in all of sports yesterday, was the NFL and Jalen Hurts' contract. We'll talk NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs coming up. We'll get in depth on the Lightning Leafs series later on in the show as well. But so you're the Chargers and you're the Jags, because I think Burrow is at a different level. And Burrow, I think, is going to set the market. But if you're the Chargers with Herbert and you're the Jags in a year with Trevor Lawrence, do you think that the contract yesterday, $51 a year guaranteed, at least the first 3 years of it is, first 3 plus, do you think then that Herbert and Lawrence are going to start then at 51?
I don't know if they start there. I mean, I still think it's somewhere between, it could be a tiny bit less, but I don't think anybody, is anybody going to start at less than 50? I mean, it could be equal. It could be 47. I mean, it's monopoly money at this point. I wonder if you get an extra year, if you take less AAV per year, a little more guaranteed money. But yeah, it's basically a starting point.
Okay. I'm just wondering if you think teams will be able to play hardball. And by the way, the Ravens also released yesterday word that, hey, we offered Lamar $200 million guaranteed. Now, the contract's not for $200 million and it's fully guaranteed, but the Ravens made sure that when the Jalen Hurts deal got announced yesterday at $255, which is $51 a year, $179 million guaranteed, which is 70% of the contract, which is pretty much standard. If you look at these 5-year deals, they're basically 3.5 years guaranteed. And what it means is in the first 3 years, they got to pay full price. They want to walk after year 3. Then there's like
it's a severance check. It might as well be a severance check, Dave.
And a cap hit to the team in year 4. That's how these contracts are basically set up. That if they make a mistake, if it ends up being a Carson Wentz deal, this is how we're going to do it. And the Ravens, Mark, made sure to let everybody know, hey, we offered them $200 guaranteed. Now, I will say that's reportedly a tremendous bump in guaranteed money. The most guaranteed money I think we had heard of was like 3 years guaranteed at like $135. But the Ravens played the PR game yesterday and basically said, hey, Lamar, this guy took a team to a Super Bowl. I know you won an MVP. You may think you're better than him, whatever. But, 255 for him, 250 from us, 20 million more guaranteed from us. Mark, I think the Ravens are like one day away from going, this is it. We ain't going any higher.
Look at do you think that the Ravens and Lamar will get a long-term deal done before this season starts?
No.
Neither do I. So all of what we're talking about is posturing by the team and then by the player. At the end of the day, I thought for a while back, I'd said Lamar was going to end up with the Colts. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. It still could, but it doesn't look like there's any action for any other team. Lamar's going to sign his contract and play 1 year at $32 million.
And leave a ton of guaranteed money on the table, no question. But then again, if he stays healthy, he might be able to make more per year, get more guaranteed money, but he'll never make back the money that he's already left on the table. That is for sure. 25 minutes past the hour. It is time for
our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. Felipe, what do you got for us today?
Well, it was a huge night to be a King, and I'm not talking about the Kings in Sacramento. I'm talking about the LA Kings, who skated into Edmonton as underdogs, and with some late game heroics, they sent it to OT, and they won it in OT. The call from Alex Fost of Bally Sports West.
Arvidsson goes in. Arvidsson centers. Saves, get a rebound, score! They tied it with 16.7 to go. It's Andrzej Kopitar on the rebound. Kopitar moves in. Touch pass. They score! Iafallo wins it. Game one goes to Los Angeles.
Alex Iafallo with the winner off the dish from Andrzej Kopitar, who finished the game with 3 assists and the goal that sent it to overtime. Kings win game one.
Don't you love how quiet the road arena gets? Or, when the road team wins and the home crowd, not a peep.
Not a peep. Not a peep. And Edmonton had scored in overtime, but it was a puck played with a high stick. The goal was properly disallowed. So the fevered pitch, they get a penalty, and literally off of the draw of the penalty, a little tic-tac-toe play. Great puck movement by the Kings. And Iafallo buries it, and the Kings take a 1-0 lead in the series. And that is our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K for Kings, David. See?
And by the way, how about Felipe? How about Felipe being clutch? He easily could have gone Draymond in the stomp, okay? And instead, on the first night of the Stanley Cup playoffs, what does he do? He goes a little overtime hockey.
Well, it's a little bit because he went to bed and didn't watch enough playoff basketball, and he's a little bothered by it.
It's so hard. Did you know that game 3 of the Kings-Warriors series starts at 10, and then at 10:30 is game 3 of the Clippers-Suns series the same night?
Felipe, I know you have your degree and all right, and you're debating actually going back for more, which we need to talk about. The answer needs to be no. But, okay, a little geography lesson. See, Sacramento and the Warriors, they're in the northern part of California. All right. The Clippers and the Suns are in Southern California and Arizona. Okay. Hence, their games are
need to
late
explain this to me again,
on
David.
the East Coast.
You don't need
Okay?
to explain this to me. I just wish
I know.
lived in maybe the mountain.
Yes.
The perfect time zone.
Perfect time zone.
Mountain time
Yes.
zone is the perfect
Oh
sports
my
time
gosh.
zone.
Oh,
Yes. Even the central time zone makes a big difference come playoff time. Big difference come playoff time.
But the mountain time zone's where it's at.
Oh.
2 hours. Because you got to remember, you want to watch your college football, it means the noon kicks at 10. 9 a.m. a little early when you're at Pacific time.
with how long college football games are, do you really think I care? Plus, I get to watch Dion now. If I live in Colorado,
season
whatever.
is completely sold out. The
Oh, yeah.
Colorado Buffalo season is completely sold out. First time since '96.
By the way, I got some R&D of people's reactions in Colorado. Oh my goodness. They said that they have never been more excited for Colorado football ever.
Well,
Talk to him in a year.
We'll see.
Well, 3. All right. We'll see if it works. I hope it does.
I do too.
I think they'll be in a different conference by Deion's third year. I think they'll be in the Big 12. How about this? A conference game between Colorado and Florida State. Huh? Deion against his alma mater. And it's a conference game. I think it could happen.
Well, that means the ACC gets blown up.
Uh-huh.
Which we think could happen as well.
Uh-huh. Just saying. All right. That's the Clutch Vodka play of the day, you know.
We got it. Clutch with a K.
Spirits and, you know, the fine wine place near you, whatever.
Great night to be a king.
Really is.
Sacramento, Los Angeles, or otherwise.
Right. Absolutely. Or maybe even Charles. Who knows? He might have had a good night yesterday. Miller and Moulton.
Way to go, Camilla.
Coming through for the team. Go Kings. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Did you guys see the video of the Sacramento Kings fan ringing a cowbell who's sitting right behind Bob Myers, the GM of the Warriors? Oh, they're ruthless. And I don't blame them. I love it. Light the beam. Mace Windu would be proud.
Was it Staubach?
Oh,
I don't think it was Whedon.
I was going to say Whedon. I couldn't think of his name.
I will say, how old was Warren Moon? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking. Now, if Flutie was in the NFL before he went to the CFL, he went USFL, NFL, CFL. It's got to be Warren Moon.
You know, I laugh because we talk about food and David plays this whole thing. Oh, we're all going to get hungry. Then he goes to the kitchen and proceeds to eat food for the next 3 commercial breaks. You know what you can do with those cashews?
Lightly salted.
Yeah. So, KW, is it Moon? Are you going to give us the answer? Or are you just going to, I mean.
And we're done. You know, answer before 9. Okay. 85, Dieter Brock. Went to the NFC title game. Handed the ball off to Eric Dickerson a lot. So I taped a show on NFL Network the other day. What?
Oh, I was going to say, the guys that did the Carolina game last night, the play-by-play guy, Carolina Islanders, I thought did a fine job.
Certainly better than the people doing the Kings Oilers and the Bruins Panthers.
Well, was Kings Oilers Buccigross?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
I will say McDonough's gotten better with hockey. I don't like him doing hockey, but doing it more, I think he's gotten more comfortable with it.
I do think it helps that he is by himself in the booth. And he's in, you know, like Buccigross had to fit 2 guys in.
Yep.
Which, I mean, that's ridiculous. In hockey?
And a sideline person. I mean, they have 4.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need 4 in a hockey booth, ever. It's a stretch to get to the third person on the sidelines as it is.
Do you know what's obvious? Emily Kaplan is very popular with the hockey players and coaches. They clearly know her and they like her. She's not very good, but they like being with her. Like they've accepted her as she's a hockey person.
Mm-hmm. I would say that's
You know,
accurate.
she can joke with them about their haircuts, you know, and think, I mean, they like her. It's not that good, but they like her. You know, I mean, she asked Pasternak, you know, basically how he felt after he scored. Really? Happy?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan to join us at the top of the hour. Henry Yoho, 1 hour from now, we'll get in-depth Lightning and Leafs. I got to put you on the spot here. Why do you like the Lightning?
I don't trust the Leafs. I don't trust their goaltending. And I do think that Tampa has a switch, and I think if they get one of the first 2, they put all the pressure on the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think Hedman's ice time will go up, and that does nothing but influences the Lightning in a positive way. I think they have a better coach.
Oh, they definitely have a better coach.
Well, you asked me.
No.
Those are my lists of reasons.
Well, I have to admit the list is getting pretty damn long for a team that finished like 15 points behind the Leafs in the regular season for whatever the heck that's worth, which is nothing.
Thank you.
I agree with you about a switch. I agree with you that they've been, for the last 6 weeks, been like, really? I mean, do we have to play these games? You can't call the guys up from the A, play these games? We can't go on a little vacation? You know, we've played a lot of hockey in the last 3-4 years. You sure we can't get some time off? How about an Olympic break? We could really use an Olympic break, no? So I'm with you on that. Here's my thing. I think in the playoffs, this is where they're going to miss Ryan McDonough. McDonough played hard minutes. He was on the PK a lot. And the Lightning take 4 or 5 penalties a game. I mean, McDonough played hard minutes. They put McDonough out there a lot against the other team's number one line. Now, they'd put Hedman out there in the third period, you know, as much as possible. But I think this is where they miss Ryan McDonough in the playoffs, not in the regular season. But to me, he was their second best defenseman. He was the lead guy on their number 2 defensive core. And I think they miss him in the playoffs. And I do think that their third line's not nearly what their third line's been the last 3 years. I think that they got key goals and minutes from, their bottom 6 that I don't know that they can count on their bottom 6 as much anymore. Although Corey Perry still keeps getting it done. He's remarkable. Listen, I trust their stars more than the Leafs guys. I do. I mean, Mitch Marner, one big goal would be nice. It really would. One. John Tavares, you're tremendous. Can you get it done in the spring? Okay, and you've been close, and you've played better than Austin Matthews. But boys, it's time. It's time. No excuses. I don't care.
And they added a bunch at the trade deadline. No one was close to being as aggressive as the Leafs were at the deadline to add to that team. They are a deep, very complete roster.
If you had to take the forwards, you would take the Leafs.
100%. David, this is a weird series. And that in 7 games, Toronto could outscore Tampa and lose the series.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa could win 4-2-1 games. And in the other 3, could get beat handily.
I'm picking the Leafs because my thought really is, Mark, if not now, never. Not when, never. If not now, never.
19 years next week since the Leafs have won a playoff series.
Think about that. There are freshmen in college all throughout the country who have never seen the Leafs win a playoff series.
Oh, grade 13.
Well done. Well done. And really, there's college graduates because they were 3 the last time they won a playoff series. They don't remember. I mean, this is it. This is the number 1 city in the nation. This is the number 1 sport in the nation. They haven't won a playoff series in a generation. They haven't danced with Lord Stanley in 56 years. I'm 57 years old. What are you, 53?
Yep.
Yeah. Not in your lifetime, barely in mine. Haven't made the finals, I think, since they won the cup. I don't even think they made it in the years following. They got to the semis with Landy McDonald in like 77 or 78. They got to the conference finals twice with Dougie Gilmour in 93 and 94. Gretzky broke their hearts in 93. Game 7 in Toronto, he scored a hat trick. Kings won 3-2. Gutted a nation. They still haven't recovered. And there comes Stammer, Victor, Braden Point, and the boys. Oh, yeah. They had the best goalie in the world, too, in Vasilevsky.
And if I could ask for anything, if I could request something from the sports gods, give me a Lightning Game 1 win.
You are so cruel. I honestly, you have mellowed so much in the last 15, 20 years of your life. But you do know how much pain this will cause to a nation.
Yes, I do. and I want them panicked for the next week and a half.
Oh, Mark, they're already panicked. They'll be panicked if they're up to spit.
And you know, this isn't a bandwagon thing with me and the Lightning. I actually worked for their organization when they first started. I worked for the Atlanta Knights of the International Hockey League, their first farm club. A lot of players from that team would go on and play for the Lightning. I knew those players very well. So I've always had a soft spot for the Lightning.
Well, always. And you and I were big Espo fans. We loved what Yzerman did. We appreciated Torts and the boys winning the first cup. No. We have genuine affection for the Lightning organization and have from the beginning.
They've turned Tampa into a hockey town. While I've lived in Florida, Tampa's become a great hockey city.
Great.
Frozen 4 was sold out all throughout. You know, I've told it before, and the folks listening in Tampa know, but those around the state that are listening, I'll put it up against any hockey arena in the country. The atmosphere is second to none.
Seth Everett went there as a Devils fan. He said, "Oh man, this place is amazing." I want 1-1-2-2. I do.
Yes.
I do.
I want 7. No matter. I mean, if the Leafs are going to do it in 7.
I say Leafs in 6. I say they finished what they couldn't get done. They were a goal away from doing it last year. I say they get the goal this year, and it could very well be trade acquisition Ryan O'Reilly.
I picked the Lightning in 7. I filled out my little bracket thing. My son's a big hockey guy, and he and his buddies are in a little contest, so they sent it to me. He had to pick each series of the games. I picked Tampa in 7.
Well, since you're counting on stars and experience, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then I'm guessing you're picking Rangers over Devils then.
Absolutely.
For the same reason.
Absolutely. Devils got to prove something to me. I love their team. They're fast. They are a riot to watch. I think they are a little bit like the Panthers of last year. They're not the right team to win in the postseason. I came really close to picking the Islanders for the same reason, but I did eventually go with Carolina.
Yeah, I went with the Islanders. That's my one upset in the East. The game you had last night, you're going to get 5 or 6 more of those. I mean, first 1-3 definitely wins all those hockey games, man.
Absolutely. Carolina's really good defensively.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Islanders got outplayed last night. We're lucky to only lose 2-1. 2 power play goals for the Canes.
And I picked Boston in 5, and I don't know if I should have made that 4. Because last night the Florida Panthers had an opportunity. Boston did not play a good first 2 periods, and they were still up 3-1.
And Bergeron didn't play because of the flu. I will say, all the inside information and the rumors and what have you, it was all true last night. All true. And usually it's tough to get information out in hockey circles. But while we were doing the show yesterday, it was like, hey, you know, the flu bug's going around, and the word is Bergeron's not going to play. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, okay. Bergeron's not going to play because of a stomach flu? Seriously? It's the playoffs. Sure enough, Panthers take 1 bad penalty. Outplay them the entire first period. Take 1 bad penalty. They're down 1-0.
Well, and they took 2 penalties in the first. You can't take 2 penalties in the first 5 minutes a game against the Boston Bruins. You can't put yourself in that type of a hole. Nice goal by the Bruins. And this just in, with a lead, they're damn near impossible to beat.
They lost what? What was it? 1 game?
1 regulation game all year when they scored first.
And led after the first period. 1.
What they did to the Panthers in the third period, coaches will run that film to show you how to play defensive hockey.
And Empire 7 in our Twitch chat room said Panthers lost the series last night. They didn't lose the series last night. They lost any chance of competing in the series last night. Boston was not good for 2/3 of the game and led 3-1. Panthers should have had the lead. 2 soft goals. A stupid penalty led to a goal. Honestly.
Now,
what do you do?
You got to go to Bob.
You have to go to Bob?
I think so. He gave up 2 goals you cannot give up in the postseason.
I know.
I can't put him back between the pipes. I'm sorry.
The reason why I'll defend you if you make the switch is you're treating game 2 as, listen, we don't win game 2. We have absolutely no shot. We're not going to win this series down 2-0. We have to come out of Boston with a split. So if I'm going to make my move, I'm going to make it now. Okay, I can defend that.
And Florida tried. I mean, it's the most hits they had all season. They went out and tried to take the body. They tried to do the right thing. They took 2 bad penalties in the first period with their aggressiveness. One of them cost them a goal early.
Leafs Lightning tonight. Rangers Devils tonight. And then the 2 series out west getting started.
Whatever.
Yeah, I know. Although you and I both, okay, like the Avs. Well, you like the head coach of the Avs. You hate the Avs. You like the head coach of the Avs. So that's really, you're torn. But we both have a soft spot for the Kraken.
Absolutely. Would love to see the Kraken. I'd like what you said. If the Kraken got to 6 to get 3 home games for that fan base, I mean, they're playing with house money anyhow.
They are.
They truly are.
And
I mean,
then,
how about that? The Kraken already in the playoffs in year 2. Vegas is qualified every year for the postseason. I mean, they have these new teams in the West have quickly established themselves as really good franchises.
and they'll be the last 2 expansion teams that we have in the NHL. I mean, do you really think the NHL is going to go bigger than 32? Do you think the NFL will ever go bigger than 32? You think they do that European division? They go to 36?
I hope not. But they see the money, David, and it seems like it's an inevitable for the league to go bigger at some point. I don't know if, I don't necessarily think it's in the next 5 to 10 years, but I think at some point they could.
I mean, do you have to have world domination? I mean, wouldn't that move be for that we're trying for world domination? I mean, you already called the world's arguably only superpower home. You own that. Isn't that enough? There's enough money here, right? I mean, for goodness sake, the Commanders are selling for $6 billion. How much more you need? Really need Munich? London?
Mexico City?
Man, it's a hell of a road trip.
Well, I mean, Mexico City, Toronto. I mean, I know. But,
they're talking about a European division. You think we have trouble getting quarterbacks now? Now we need 4 more.
And we don't have them.
No, but if you've got a pulse, you're getting paid. I mean, Daniel Jones getting 40 was ridiculous a month ago. Wait 2 years. People are going to be going, the Giants got a deal here. He's like the 17th highest paid quarterback in the league. Right now, he's T7. It's like a leaderboard in golf. He's posting his salary. By the end, he's really going to get lapped. There's a lot of birdies out there, i.e. money.
Right. You got that right. You mentioned the guys, Herbert, Lawrence.
Yeah, Tua. I mean, honestly, what do you do if you're the Dolphins? Tua stays healthy, has a good year, plays 15 or more games, leads you to the playoffs, wins a game in January.
Then what?
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, he's at least going to want Daniel Jones money. That's minimum of 40. I mean, honestly, if you're the Vikings, by the way, Cousins' contract's coming up in a year. He's the second or third best quarterback in your conference. He's a bargain at 35, 36 million compared to what's out there. Pat Kirwan. We'll talk more about this kind of stuff next.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, Wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill, the Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone on 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Good morning, boys.
Morning, Pat.
Morning.
I listened to you for a whole half hour. I don't think the whole Canadian nation is waiting for Toronto to win. Just go to Quebec or Montreal. They hate those guys.
That's the only place.
Yeah.
There's one province that hates them, and the rest of them love the Leafs.
Yeah. Well, my last experience up there in Canuck country was with the French-speaking ones. They wouldn't care if Toronto slid into the lake.
Although I will say even the French-speaking ones are a little tired of this 30-year drought. They'd prefer it be Edmonton, okay? But these Canadians do want a cup.
They do. It is their sport, and they can't stand the thought of Florida. It's a little too much for them. And even though most of the teams are Canadian anyway. You guys were very passionate I enjoyed myself for a half hour listening to the two of you go at it. It was great.
Glad we can entertain you.
Well, I love when Mark gets like, can we just get one win? Can we win the first game? And it's just great.
Think about that little side of Mark. Oh, I just want to win game one. I want 48 hours of hell for a nation.
Yes. Yeah, because he knows he can set you up with a little lighter and blow up the whole place. He knows where your hot button is. Down goes Toronto. And I always think of you, David, as a guy who picks with his brain, but this Toronto pick, and I don't follow hockey enough to know, it's almost like when you said it's now or never, that's not a good reason to pick someone.
Well, no, but I just think, Pat, I'm not kidding. This is the most talented roster the Leafs have had in 50 years.
And they're blowing to me, like they think the GM's getting fired if they lose in the first round. The coach is getting fired and they're going to blow the team up. Now, you fire the GM after putting this talent together. Not his fault if they don't win. He did his job. But
well, it's the same thing in football. Someone has to get blamed. Yeah. Well, it was very entertaining.
That's why I think it's now or never, because I think what Mark says is true. And then I think they're going to.
Well, they're going to lose then because if the rumors and the whispers are we're all on a gangplank, they will choke. That never motivates people to win. Because something goes wrong in every sport somewhere down the line, especially in these series, not like football, it's a one gamer, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with adversity and it's temporary, but because of the ramifications of this thing, it perpetuates itself into something worse.
And Pat, that's what happened last year. Like Toronto played a great game 6 up 3-2 in the series and dominated overtime. Shots were 15-1 at one point. But Tampa was the one that scored at the end of the first overtime. And once that series went back to Toronto for game 7, they were a mess.
They're tight asses.
Yes. And Tampa just skated them into the ground.
There's something to be said for guys who know how to win. That is something you can't measure.
They got 2 goals from a third line guy and won it 2-1 because they got the best goalie in the world. And
15 seconds. Ten seconds.
Oh my God, I'm nervous.
When's the last time you did live radio?
I don't know. I feel like Toronto.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 3 of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Good morning, Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. We're halfway home to our loyal base in the 239. Thanks so much for being with us. It's time once again for Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show. He's heading to Kansas City next week to broadcast the draft live. He joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Top of the morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. I got up early today and I had things I was doing and I put your show on. I've been enjoying listening to you guys get into hockey and everything else. So yeah, it's been great listen. I'm happy to be with you.
And we love it as well. All right, Jalen Hurts got paid. How much of a good move? How good of a move is this on behalf of the Eagles? Of getting this done before the other quarterbacks get signed, how they structured it, just your thoughts on the deal in general, Pat.
Yeah, so people advertise it as he's the highest paid quarterback ever. Well, excuse me. He has $51 million less guaranteed money than Deshaun Watson. So Howie did a nice job of putting a deal together. No one has the particulars yet. When I can't wait to read them. So when I see $51 million less guaranteed money, there's a parachute somewhere if they need one. But let's go back to when they signed Carson Wentz. They signed him early, just like this. They thought he was going to be the MVP if he didn't get hurt. They thought this guy, and I love Jalen, was going to be the MVP if he didn't get banged up at the end. I think all he did was set the table for everyone else. I know you guys have been covering it, but we have now 10 quarterbacks making 40 million or more, and we have 2 of them making 50. And by 2024, we're going to have 8 quarterbacks making 50 million or more. And you know what that's going to do to the franchise tag? That 32 million franchise tag, it's going to be $50 million to put a franchise tag on a guy you're not sure about. And there's another position that's exploding simultaneously, and that's the defensive tackles. That franchise tag is 18.9. That's going to 25 million within a year or two. Here are the names, and they're all going to get paid a ton. Chris Jones is going to get repaid. Quinnen Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, even Ed Oliver is going to get it. And then Leonard Williams, doesn't matter. He's going to get paid, not what they're getting paid, but he's going to make 8 to 10 million more than he was supposed to make. And then there's Leonard Williams. So Leonard Williams' deal is coming to an end, and he is 29 years old. You're going to see that franchise tag for the defensive tackles go to 24.5 million in 2 years. So if you need to sign a defensive tackle and a quarterback, what are you talking about? Consumption of salary cap room. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, let's see. It'll cost you $75 million at those 2 positions. And a year or 2 from now, the cap will be I don't know, 275, something like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, you're talking about almost 30% of the cap.
Right. And I study the top 3 contracts of every team to see how much cap consumption there is. And when you start getting over 35% of your cap for the top 3 guys, you start to get in trouble. And because you can't get out from some of those deals right away when you need to. So, yeah, I'm following the tackles and I'm following the quarterbacks. And I'll ask you guys, Burrow is going to make more. To your point, Mark, about Hurts. All I know is agents that represent Burrow, Herbert, Lamar, Trevor Lawrence. They're all going to get more. Can you imagine when you have to put a $50 million franchise tag, which is going to be in a year? Lawrence is going to be a year from now, but that's it. And then Mahomes, that deal, Mahomes' side, it's going to be halfway through it, and he's averaging $45 million. They're going to have to renegotiate him. They're going to have to renegotiate Allen. And then your point on the last hour about Cousins, any of those guys. So that's where the world's going. And I always talk to my listeners about percentage of cap, not dollars, because dollars is incomprehensible. But percentage of cap is what they should be thinking.
Pat, do you think there would ever be a day, and obviously they'd have to sit down and redo the CBA, but I was talking to a buddy of mine a couple years ago in which he said to me, he said, you know, the NFL should do with quarterbacks kind of like what we do with our budget with Social Security. It's actually not on the budget. It's its own separate item. Do you think that the owners, because of the franchise tag and all that, and then what it will do to the rest of their roster, do you think that you could convince the owners to basically not count the quarterback against the cap?
No, and I'll tell you why. They are growing the value of these clubs at 30% a year. How about when the owners leaked out they weren't real happy with the $6 billion deal for Washington? The growth of these franchise values since we started a CBA in the 90s is astronomical. And because we have a hard cap, the owners love the hard cap. They know themselves. They are not going to let the Jerry Joneses of the world go berserk. They're going to keep everyone under whatever this roof is. And it moves a little bit, but it's still a hard cap. When you go to sell your club, you can show the new owner fixed costs. And fixed costs raise the value of the franchise.
And fixed revenue.
Thank you very much. And shared revenue. So even in a little, so who's next? Arizona, Seattle, Buffalo? You know, we'll see who goes next. But some of the guys, I will say this, that were involved with Washington, who aren't going to get it, have already turned their attention to the next potential opening. And they've got grouped together and they've got another $6 billion waiting to go.
Well, and that's I mean, Pat, you know, there's part of it thinks, when are these franchise values going to stabilize? Is it ever going to get to a point where they're too much? But as long as there's someone willing to pay the money for it, and it seems that there are plenty of groups out there willing to pay the money, these franchise values are going to keep going up.
Yeah, because the fixed cost that you can predict what you're going to spend and you can predict what you're going to make. And my friend Brian Rolap is doing an incredible job of creating new revenue streams, although Netflix doesn't look like they're ready. Did you see that?
Yeah, well,
I'm not a big streaming guy. Like the product stinks. These guys need to be on a short leash until they can produce the product without delays and that little circle that goes around while you miss the touchdown pass, that stuff. You know, no one likes the way the product is on Amazon or anything else. I get 1 million complaints a year on that.
Well, and there is an issue about YouTube. Like there's a concern that it could be up to 50 seconds behind the play. And with live betting, it's one thing to be 7 to 15 seconds. Even I believe Red Zone was in the 20-ish seconds behind. Okay. But if you're 50 seconds behind, okay, you could have a real live betting problem.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you were betting on hockey and it was 50 seconds behind? Whoops, we're losing 1-0.
Game could be over in the postseason, that's for certain. Yeah, this YouTube thing is going to be interesting because I'll make, Pat, I'm guessing like most of your listeners, they're making the switch. I mean, you have the hardcore football fan. They are the Sunday ticket people. What's the overall perception been of this move to streaming? It sounds like your audience is not real happy about it.
They don't trust the product, that it's going to be dependable. That is the number one thing that I hear. Now, on a side note, they can't stand the thought of being forced into pay-per-view, which is what they perceive this to be. But mostly it's the dependability of the product they don't like at all. And so distribution for the bars and everything else, and that's always remains to be seen. But the thing they hate the most is that they can't buy a specific package. I get a lot of Raven fans on the West Coast. Don't ask me how they got out there. And what they really want is just to have the Raven games on TV, and they can't get that with, you know, everyone leaving DirecTV and moving on to whatever they're calling it. So there's a frustration about that. There's a frustration about the quality of the product, and there's a frustration about the cost. And we talk, like, all of us make enough money to say, oh, $249 for the year, that's a good deal. You know, a lot of truck drivers are pretty angry with that stuff.
We've got about 3 minutes left till we take our first break. We were talking before you came on about hockey, and
Yes.
we were talking about the Leafs Lightning series and how much pressure is on the Leafs, that there could be complete regime change in Toronto if they don't at least win a first-round series. Did you, when you were with the Jets, did you ever have a season, or even before that, in which you thought, you know, if we don't win this year, we're all losing our jobs?
Well, the first time when they fired Bruce Coslett, it was a shock to all of us. And then Pete Carroll got the job, and in the first year of a 4-year deal, we were heading towards first place until Dan Marino's fake spike. And then Pete and I spent almost a week preparing for our meeting with Mr. Hess, and on the recommendations, we were going to change this, let these guys go, all that stuff, staff, everything. And then Mr. Hess walked in and fired Pete. So I've been around those things when it happens and you don't see it coming. So I've been that part of it. With Richie Kotite, yeah, we saw it coming. We all knew it. So that was done way before the end of the season, and most of us knew. So it was different. But the owners, there are owners that listen to the media. There are owners that listen to their kids. And if the source of your decision making is someone who doesn't really know the business, you're going to do some radical things. How about Nick Caserio? He spent a week defending that he was going to stay. That was funny.
Well, it's a weird rumor, though. I mean, where's he going to go? Back to New England? I mean, it's not like people are chomping at the bit to hire Nick Caserio. Look at what a great job he's done in Houston. I mean, seriously, if he's seriously thinking about leaving, where?
Well, I don't know that he would have the choice the way that was being painted, which leads me to the draft, and he's got big decisions to make.
Well, hold on a second. If you're going to get rid of the guy after the draft, why let him pick 2 and 12? I mean, have somebody else do it now.
Well, Bill Belichick knows Nick, and he knows what Nick does, and Nick is in the room grinding away, and Bill likes that. And if you ever talk to Nick, you feel like you're talking to Belichick. It's the same voice, the same logic, the same everything. He could fit right back in. Bill O'Brien went back. Matt Patricia went back. Judge went back. Nick would go back. But he's not going anywhere. They let this guy do all these one-year contracts within the last 3 years, and they have not built a football team.
He's Pat Kirwan. Pat joins us each week, courtesy of Pinchers. Pinchers with locations from Tampa to Key West. Pinchers, where you cannot fake fresh. More with Pat coming up on the other side. We'll get knee-deep into the draft. Holy cow, 9 days away from the draft, and we'll talk with Pat about that coming up on the other side. Thank you so much for listening, Miller and Moulton. Text the show at 21,000. If you got a question for Pat, we'll try to sneak it in here in our closing moments with Pat Kirwan right here on Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. The Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark, I went out to play golf yesterday in that storm. I ran back in the house.
Oh, man. It came down hard. What were you thinking?
Two guys I never see were in town just for 2 days. And I said, yeah, let's play at 8 o'clock. And then we got over there. And I'm like, I'm not. And then there was lightning in the area, too.
Yeah.
I go, take it easy, fellas. I've already been whacked twice with that stuff. I'm not going for a third.
Have you really?
Yeah. Paul Alexander and I got hit by, we were coming back from dinner over at the jet facility we were coaching in. We parked the car and the lightning was around. I said, let's just run in the building. And as we were running in, the lightning hit the flagpole. And as we were passing, and the flagpole had a light in it. So the wiring was underground. And just as we were basically in stride when the lightning hit that pole, I got it in the groin, he got it in the armpit, and we both went down. It was not, and then the second time I got it, I was offshore fishing, and we were in a tournament on my boat at the time off Jersey in this ocean, and my brother's like, oh, no, let's not, everyone was running in. They go, let's stay out here. We could win this fucking thing. So the lightning hit the boat went on fire. I had 150 gallons of gas. When we finally put the fire out, my brother Billy was seared to the window frame from the lightning. He melted his shoulder right onto it. And all of our electronics were shot, and we were adrift in 100 feet of water, and I had like 80 feet of line with my anchor. So we drifted a long way before the Coast Guard got us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not a big lightning guy.
Yeah, I can see why. Tell you what, Pat, we got to figure out a way to get out fishing because fishing's pretty good from what I hear.
Yeah. Well, as soon as the draft's over, I'm not going back till up north to like May 17th or May 20th or something like that. So that's the time for me, early May. I got a couple I'm going to Chicago on Thursday, the grandson hockey tournament thing, but I'll get back and go right to Kansas City. I hate Kansas City. God darn it.
Well, my understanding, though, is you'll be flying into a new airport.
Yeah, when we were there, obviously we were there for the AFC Championship game. That was basically done. They were just putting the blacktop down for the parking lot.
Right. I will say, I mean, that'll make it better. It's not convenient, though. The airport's not near anything. It's
No, it looks like an old spaceship. Just the way it's designed, it's depressing.
Well, also, it's not near the stadiums, but it's also not near downtown. I mean,
no. It's out there in nothing land. Nope. Not a big fan. And the city's about 2 blocks long.
I agree with that. Don't get me wrong. The food's really good for those 3 blocks.
It's really good.
Yep.
As long as you're in the Lowe's hotel across the street, you can walk over.
Right.
If you're anywhere else, it's like you can't get there. Try to find a taxi cab. Try to find somebody. Try to see if you can get an Uber to pick you up.
Yeah. With Kansas City, I always rent a car for that reason.
Yep.
If I'm that far away from an airport, I got to have my own car.
Me too. Yeah.
First world problems.
Anyway, Mark, they had this was really funny. Not only did the Blades on Saturday night sell out completely, then they sold out standing room only. And this is really funny. I was going over to pick up my postseason tickets, and there was a long line. The lady in front of me was the last person before me, and she bought, this is great, she wanted 4 tickets. The lady said, "Did you see the sign? Standing room only, and we're down to 2 of those. Do you want them or not?" And she said, with a grumbling face, she goes, "Yes, I'll take them." And as she got the tickets, she looked right at the woman running the counter and said, "Where are my seats?" I mean, the only thing that made
Is
me
that the
laugh.
last regular season home game?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody's exchanging their tickets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there was a bunch of, I mean, it was mobbed. There, a lot of people were parking at the outlets.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll get more into Leafs Lightning coming up with Henry Yoho in about 15 minutes' time. Between now and then, more talk with Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West. Over a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. All right, 9 days before the draft. How much more information is being acquired by teams, or are you guys now at this point pretty much done and you're meeting and you're stacking the board?
The boards are pretty much, I wouldn't say done, but they're framed up. So I think the first round's got the right 31 guys, and everyone's different. We know that, right? The draft board's a fingerprint. There are no 2 exactly the same. How do you decipher need from grade? Sometimes need trumps grade, and you're moving guys around, but it's pretty much set. So what's the biggest story? It's Stroud. Why is CJ Stroud dropping? And there are a couple of reasons, I suspect. But this draft, this is like here's the capsule of the draft. The number 1 pick in the draft is 5'10" and 190 pounds. And the quarterback from Georgia who won the national championship was 5'11", 190 pounds. He's not getting drafted at all. So, because he's small. But the first pick is going to be a smaller guy, and he's going to be the first pick overall. So you got to wonder sometimes about all of it. But I think Stroud is slipping a little bit, and there are some reasons that he has, and I don't think he's going to slip very far, but he's not going to go at 2. I don't think so.
Well, then will someone trade up, or do you think Houston has their eye on someone that's not a quarterback, or could someone be really crazy and take Richardson second overall?
I don't think they'll take Richardson second, especially a team that needs to put the quarterback on the field the first year. Richardson's not ready to play. You'd have to be able to sit him for a year. He'd be perfect in Minnesota, right behind Cousins, no problem. Really good in Tennessee, behind Tannehill, those kind of places. I think Houston, they're trying to sell the spot. Everyone should, but why would you move down? Just take Will Anderson. What's amazing, Mark, is how many Texan fans call my show that do not want a quarterback. They have this mindset, and I'm talking about a lot of people, build the team first. There's not enough talent on the roster. Build the team first. And I run out to them. The offensive line's pretty good. They don't want to hear it. And as I said, there is enough rumors around CJ Stroud right now that I don't think he's going to go too. So Houston's either going to sell the spot, but if they sell it, they may end up losing Anderson. So just take Anderson.
Pat, I got to be honest. Will Anderson in 2021 to me was worthy of the second or third overall pick of the draft. 2022, Will Anderson was not. I watched him get blocked a lot last year. The tackle from Tennessee, who's graded as the fourth best tackle, blocked him 60 times one-on-one. No help. Owned him all day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll remind you of that story because you've told it before.
Well, but I'm trying to figure out a guy who to me looks like an 8-sack guy and not a 12+ sack guy, why he's going to go second. I mean, no offense. It's the difference between Ed Oliver and Von Miller. That's a BFD.
Yeah. But last year, Hutchinson went second and he got blocked by Georgia, right? The kid who landed up being a guard in the NFL blocked him all day long. And people like Hutchinson is manufactured. Hutchinson won't be a double-digit sack guy. How'd his rookie season go? So I think people like what they see. Now, if you call Bill O'Brien and say, give me the scoop on Anderson, he's going to give you a big report, because he saw how hard it was to block him every day. So if you don't like him, now I wouldn't take Carter. Carter is guaranteed. When he said no one in the top, outside the top 10, I'm not visiting you, because he's already been guaranteed. The worst he's going to be is Philadelphia. They will take him at 10, but he's going to be gone before that. People are cleaning up their logic for taking him. They can get out from under some of the issues and think, well, the big horse is worth it. But there are people that say he doesn't work very hard.
And there's talk of the Texas Tech rusher, the Wilson kid, going before Will Anderson. Just your thoughts on Tyree Wilson, Pat.
I like him, but I don't know that I like him more than Anderson. It depends on what your scheme is. Now, Wilson is going to play with his hand on the ground. Anderson is going to play standing up. So if you're a 30 front and you want an outside backer type, you'll take Anderson. If you're a 4-3 and you want an elephant end on the right side, you'll take Wilson.
How can Indianapolis not trade up and guarantee that they get the quarterback that they want? I mean, when the owner has come out 100 days ago and said, we are going to get this right, we're going to get a quarterback. Doesn't the general manager, who basically got usurped last year, have to get the guy that the owner wants?
Yeah, well, if the guy is Bryce Young and you're not getting him, then what we don't know, this is again back to the fingerprint thing, it's all different. Do they like Stroud or they like Levis? Now, you got to like one of those two guys because Indy's got to put the guy on the field. You cannot put Hendon Hooker out there. He's not ready yet physically. And the other guy's not ready because he's played 13 college games. No more Trubisky stories. We're going to wait on that. So if you like both of those guys, you can stay here and not give up anything and get one. And they'll tell the world, this was the guy we ranked first. How many times have the three of us heard that story? The guy we wanted first was there.
I just think, Pat, they at least have to move to 3. They can't have somebody trade up to 3 and take their guy.
I have no problem doing that. I've told you on this show before, we had to swap out. We were 3, and the guy in 4 happened to be Arizona, ironically. They thought we were going to take their guy, so we swapped, and they gave us a player for it. That I see as doable. So that could happen, and that would clean it up. But
Pat, have you done any drafts like the Dolphins are at? I mean, they've got 2 picks, 1 second-round pick, 1 third-round pick, 1 6th, 1 7th. They got nothing in this draft. How do you approach that when you have 4 picks only and nothing in the top 50? Do you think they'll be aggressive trying to move up, or you're just kind of stuck this year?
I think they're kind of stuck. I don't think they can massage it too much. Now, John Snyder had the same problem about 3 years ago in Seattle, and he parlayed it into 11 picks, I think. He just kept moving around, but you're moving in the hundreds, moving in the 200s. You get a bunch of names, and now you fill up your camp roster, and half those guys didn't make it. So the answer to your question is they knew all along they had these few picks. They've been more active in free agency than most teams. And my little list of who's available in free agency is still pretty damn good. Marcus Peter, Ngakoue, Miles Jack, Rocky Sin, Frank Clark, Kyle Van Noy, Dalton Reisner. I can keep going. There's plenty of guys, and after the draft, they will have 0 leverage, and they'll run to Miami.
Is there a team in the 20s that you think may make a big move and maybe trade up into the top 10. I mean, not necessarily like Kansas City, who went from 27 to 10 to get Mahomes, but do you think there's a team in the late teens, early 20s that'll make a move?
Well, Seattle's always been a mover and a shaker, right? And they got a lot of picks, and they got their eyes on a couple of guys. So would it surprise me if Pete took his team, his pick at 20 and went up there somewhere? I don't think Philly's trading out. Maybe Chicago might. They could be the one to get themselves up there. Minnesota doesn't have a lot of firepower, back to Mark's point, but they need to get a quarterback. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck with a $50 million Kirk Cousins again on another short-term deal. So Minnesota, they could give away next year's one and get up to get Hooker.
If they have to. There's now a report the quarterbacks are falling.
They are falling.
So we
if
shall
they're within reach, do it.
Yeah. He's Pat Kirwan. He'll be at the draft next week in Kansas City. He'll join us before then. Moving the Chains is the show, weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. Is also part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers twice a week throughout the season, at least through the draft. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, all the best. We'll catch up again on Friday.
I'll see you on Friday from Chicago.
Hot damn, where they'll be excited about the draft. Bears moving down to 9. They got a bunch of picks. Pat Kirwan joining us once again here on Miller and Moulton.
We will switch gears from football to hockey. Henry Yoho talking Leafs, Lightning. That's next. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. So Atlanta's talking about building a new arena and trying to attract a hockey team again.
Okay. At this point, if you're a city, how could you think that you could get an NHL team?
The vote for Arizona, if they don't pass the vote, they're going to relocate, is basically what I...
Okay, but don't you think at that point it goes to Houston or Ottawa or some... I mean...
Quebec City, you mean?
Well, no. I mean, there was a talk of... Well, not Ottawa. There was another talk of another city in Canada that I thought wasn't Quebec, but... was it Hamilton? Who's the guy who thought
Hamilton's not getting a franchise?
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay,
but
it's going to America now. Houston or Atlanta would be, but they're
I think that's crazy, though. I couldn't support that if I was a person in Atlanta. I couldn't support that. We've had it twice.
Downtown arena. That's the other thing, though. It's another northern, because the Braves work so well north of the city. It's another northern arena.
What do you think? You lived there. You did hockey there.
Hockey works there. I don't understand what happened at Phillips Arena. I don't know what happened to the Thrashers, why that went so badly. The Flames worked. The owner went bankrupt. They couldn't sell to anybody in the city. That's one of the biggest misnomers out there. Big news this morning, David, in my world. Apparently, the coach and his twins will not be at our softball game tomorrow. Big text. He's got, I don't know why, but they're not going to be there. So there's lineup changes coming, David. Big news.
Are you in charge? Oh, no, that's soccer, right?
Which one are I'm in charge? I won't. There's two other guys that are helping. I will walk right to the sidelines and let other people take over. Didn't want to do this in the first place.
You didn't want to Al Haggett for a game? No?
No.
Ah.
Well, that would make sense, KW. Because it's a lot of talk that Pittsburgh wants him.
Which I have to admit, that's fascinating. At least it is to me. Because
he lacks character and the Pittsburgh
I was going to say, what are the questions about him? Very un-Steeler-like. However, he is a blankety blank. And in the middle of a defense, I also don't, his conditioning's a problem. He doesn't play hard on every play. I mean, he's not a Steeler. Now, if they could make him into a Steeler, oh, wow.
So,
tell you what, I like the
Wilson,
Steelers next year.
Charlie Wilson's War is on Netflix, David. So I was watching this documentary and I watched a show and I'm like, and as I put it on pause, it just starts I turned it on. I had to watch for an hour yesterday.
Yoho's on hold. 15 seconds.
Not a chance, Mark. Not a chance.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Panthers had their shot at Boston last night. The Lightning and Leafs get it on again beginning tonight. Henry Yoho joins us. Part of Fansided's boltsbythebay.com, boltsbythebay.com. You can follow that site on Twitter at boltsbythebay. You can follow Henry on Twitter at Henry Yoho, Y-O-H-O. Henry, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys. How are you guys?
All right. Well, we're doing well. I'm picking the Leafs. Mark's picking the Lightning again. Why am I going to be wrong?
Yeah, well, I think that most people are having their needles pointing towards the Maple Leafs. But for me, I'll always keep coming back to the Lightning having better goaltending. It's the most important position. In all sports, you might say, and I think the Lightning have the best goaltender there is out there. So, all of the indications point to Toronto otherwise besides the goaltending. But for me, I can't get past the goaltending. That's why, I'm going to stick to, riding Lightning until the wheels fall off, just because I believe in the goaltending that they have for sure.
And there's no doubt, Henry, that Vasilevsky is the best in the world until proven otherwise, particularly in the postseason where he's been so good. But from the other standpoint of this, when you look at the Stars, Toronto is a younger team. They seem to be approaching, if not in their prime. Tampa's a little bit older team. Can Tampa, everybody talks about flipping the switch. Do you think the Lightning have a switch they can flip? Do you think that they have just gone lethargically through the last couple months of the season, particularly the last month when it all pointed to that they were going to play Toronto?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's been, the last, 2 months or so of the season have been a pretty bumpy ride. And, everything's trending towards this being Toronto's time to sort of take over and, kind of leave those past demons behind by slaying the giant that's the Lightning. And I think that there certainly is an element of the Lightning, sort of somewhat saying that the regular season doesn't really mean anything to them because they played so many important games that it's hard to get up sometimes for those regular season games on a Tuesday night in February when you're not really playing for much. And like we said before, the Lightning have been playing the Leafs in the first round for months, it seems. Around Thanksgiving, it was pretty much determined that this was going to be the matchup. So I think when you're not really playing for much in the regular season, I think that kind of had a lot to do with, some of the lackluster play that we saw over the last 2 months, because they already knew who they were playing and they knew that the more valuable games were still much further on the horizon. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But I think most people are on the same page that I think that this Maple Leafs team is probably better in every facet of the game except for goaltending.
I think what's going to cost the Lightning this series is when they're finally going to miss Ryan McDonagh. He played heavy playoff minutes. He played hard minutes. A lot of times, especially in the first two periods, he was the number one defenseman they sent out against the team's number one line. He got more PK than Hedman. I just think that it's going to almost require 30 minutes a night from Hedman. And maybe they can do it against Toronto, but it's difficult for me to see that they can duplicate what they've done the last 3 years, that finally third line's not as good, the second defensive pairing's not as good. At some point, this has to catch up to you, right?
Oh yeah, totally. I think that of all the teams the Lightning have run out there the last, 4 playoff teams, this is probably the weakest one. And I think that the weakest part of their game is their defense group. And losing McDonagh this past summer was a huge blow. Of course, because of the salary cap constraints and everything, it probably had to happen. It's just the unfortunate reality of today's game. But it's a huge loss because of, like you said, he ate so many critical moments, did all the dirty work back there and didn't get enough credit. And the Lightning's defense group is just not as good as it was a year ago. They brought in Ian Cole, to be sort of a pseudo replacement. No one can truly replace what McDonagh did, but Cole's just not as good as McDonagh is. And the group as a whole has some younger bodies back there, Nick Perbix and Darren Rash, names that people aren't really as familiar with. And the group is just not as deep as it was in past years. So it's just the reality of what they're looking at right now. But I think that they're going to, give it everything they've got for sure.
Well, which of those young guys needs to step up? Because at some point, Braden Point wasn't a star and he became one. So who is it that who of this younger group do you think needs to step up to have a big series? Because they have the goaltending factor, but it's going to be more than that. And I contend they can win the series and get outscored, because Vasilevsky could win 4-2-1, 1-0 type games. But who needs to step up for Tampa in order to get through this series?
Yeah, well, that was the case last year. The Lightning gave up a ton of goals again. So I think the Leafs outscored them in round one last year. And and the Lightning still ended up coming out on the other end of it because Vasilevsky wasn't superhuman. He was in the last 2 games, but somebody for me that I keep coming back to, he was huge for them last year in round 1. The hero in round 1 in Game 7 with 2 goals was Nick Paul. I think he's a huge X factor because the truth of the matter is he was pretty quiet as far as scoring was concerned over the last 2 months of the season. He hasn't scored since February. I think he's going to be a huge X factor down in the lineup because, like we talk about in playoffs all the time, sort of the top scoring lines kind of cancel each other out, and it's the depth players that can make the biggest difference. And Nick Paul's the biggest one to me, just because he's been quiet, and I think he can make a big difference if he's able to have the sort of impact that he did last year when coming in for his first playoff run with this team.
Previewing Leafs Lightning with Henry Yoho, boltsbythebay.com, boltsbythebay.com. Follow Henry on Twitter at Henry Yoho, YOHO. Do you still feel the Lightning? Because for the last few years, it's been tough to put them in a series in which you felt the other team was even on special teams. Between the power play and the PK, that the Lightnings were seemingly better in special teams than anyone they've met in the playoffs in the last 3 years. Do you still feel they have that advantage?
Yeah. I would say for the most part, coming in that these special teams units are probably even on paper from what we saw in the regular season. Both of these teams have great power plays. They've gone hot and cold over stretches over the year. They're both top 3 in the league in the power play, and they're kind of both middle of the pack as far as the penalty killing is concerned. So it's hard to say which team has really got the edge there because they're pretty evenly matched from what we saw in the regular season. But I think it's going to be a huge, determining factor in who ends up winning this series, because whenever the Leafs have gone out in the past, a lot of it's been because their power play has dried up at the worst possible times. Last year they weren't able to get a power play goal in Game 6 or Game 7, and that kind of kept the Lightning, hanging around and giving them a chance to come back in that series, and the Leafs weren't able to bury them. And so I think that the special teams are going to be huge because, we already saw last night in night 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, there were 20 goals, I think, scored last night in the NHL, and 9 of those goals were on the power play. So it's been obvious that teams are making it count so far on the man advantage. And I think that could be where this series is won or lost for either one of these teams.
How much do you worry about the road games and just the matchups that Toronto is going to be able to have favorable in games 1 and 2? Because to me, if Tampa can't get one of the first 2 games, they can't win the series. So how much are matchups important, and how much work does Cooper have to do to try to adjust on the fly tonight?
Yeah, they're very important. I think that, obviously John Cooper's been the longest tenured coach in the NHL with any one team right now. And I think that he's probably the best in the game with as far as the matchups, the game within the game. Obviously on the road, Lightning are going to be able to get the matchups that they want. But once they determine, sort of the combinations that work well defensively, because that's the name of the game for the Lightning, is they're going to probably have 1 or 2 guys out there at all times that they want against the Toronto top guys. I think you're going to see a lot of Anthony Cirelli going out there against Austin Matthews whenever they get the opportunity. And, I think that's Cooper's game. He knows the matchups. He knows what can work. And, if the Lightning are able to steal 1 on the road, I think that would be very much mission accomplished to be able to come back here 1-1. That's the ultimate goal.
2 years ago, it was pretty well known the third line was not going to be able to be kept after they won the cup because of salary cap. They wasted 10 minutes in getting rid of McDonough last year because they needed the cap room to be able to have an off season of any kind. Who's playing their last games with the Lightning this spring? I mean, or can this group be kept together if they want to keep it together?
Yeah, it seems like after every single one of these runs, you're going to be losing some critical piece. There's a few players coming up as free agents, like Corey Perry's going to be a free agent. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare are free agents. Obviously, those aren't the more significant players. I'm not sure if either one of those will be brought back. But, the one for me that I'm really wondering about is Alex Killorn. He's in the final year of what was a 7-year contract at one point. And he's been a critical piece of this team over the years. He's been along for the ride since the beginning of the John Cooper era. And I'm not sure if the Lightning are going to be able to bring him back because next year, Eric Chernak's new contract goes into effect. So does Mikhail Sergachev's and Anthony Cirelli's. Everyone's getting a boost up. And I'm not sure at the end of the day how much money is going to be left for Killorn. I think that everyone's hoping that he's going to be able to take some sort of a hometown discount to stay here because he's expressed his desire to want to finish his career in Tampa. But I think that's going to be really put to the test because I'm not sure how much money is going to be left for him at the end of the day. And there's supposed to be a salary cap increase next year, but I don't think it's expected to be significant, or maybe around $1 million or so. So that's one that I am circling, and I'm wondering if this could be potentially his last run here.
Yeah, it's been really tough on teams the last 3+ years. The caps after the pandemic's been basically flat and at most $1 million increase. And it's been tough on most of the league to be able to keep their core together. All right, Henry, I picked Leafs in 6. Mark went with Lightning in 7. You got a pick?
Yeah, I'm going to have to stick with the Lightning in 7 myself. I think that there's almost it's just meant to go 7 games for what we've seen in the past. So I think that's what I'm rolling with.
Look at you two riding the best goalie in the world.
In game 7, too. That's when it gets done. Henry, thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Henry Yoho, boltsbythebay.com, boltsbythebay.com. You can follow the site on Twitter at boltsbythebay. You can follow Henry on Twitter at Henry Yoho, YOHO. I don't feel like this is the end of an era type deal. I do think they're slowly getting worse every year. If you know what I mean. Doesn't mean they can't win it, but nobody can get hurt. They don't have the depth that they had 2-3 years ago. Nobody can get hurt.
Look, this is really simple. They're going to need to have better goaltending, which we think they have.
Yes.
We think they have the better coach, but as Henry talked about, this may come down to special teams. It really and truly, that's going to be the difference. Last night, it was the difference in games. The difference for the Kings, who got it done on the power play. Difference for the Bruins, who got an early power play, might not have mattered in that game. But to me, if the Lightning can't win without being the better team on special teams in the series, they can't.
I think Ryan O'Reilly for the Leafs could be like Kadri was for Colorado last year. I think that's a very significant acquisition. He's a playoff player. His style of play is great for the spring, and he was the captain of a team that won a cup. All right. He's a good player and a winner, and that organization needed more winners. They had a bunch of good players. They needed a winner. They needed a champion in that locker room.
I was looking at an article during the break, just catching up on things like you and I always do, and it just had one player for each team that has to be big in the playoffs. Literally for the Leafs, this article said they went with Samson off the goaltender, but their backup was it could have been everyone but Ryan O'Reilly. That's the type of pressure that the Toronto Maple Leafs have. It is not just on one person. It is on the whole team. It is on the coach. It is on the general manager. And if you can put them in a hole, the pressure could get to them.
Absolutely. I mean, this is before the series starts. They haven't faced any adversity yet. And everyone and everything around them is basically staring at them going, you do know this is your life, right? Your life. You will not want to keep living if you don't win this playoff series. That's all.
19 years since the Leafs have won a playoff series. Can the Lightning do it to them again?
Since you said for the drama, you want to see the Lightning win game 1, and I'm giving you a hard time about it, going, come on, have a heart. I've gotten a bunch of texts from people going, yeah, I'm with Mark.
Thank you.
And they're not Lightning or Leafs fans. They're just like, no, I'm with Mark. I'm rooting for the fetal position and the crying in the corner.
I'm sorry. That organization just struggles in the postseason. Tampa, St. Pete, Lake City, Port Charlotte. Thanks for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. The bonus hour is next.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Do we have a team in sports like the Leafs right now? I've been sitting here thinking.
The Knicks?
Yeah, but the Knicks haven't been good for 20 years. Knicks have had literally, Felipe, the 2013 Knicks team was good. I thought should have made it to the conference finals. They wouldn't have beat the Heat. But they were okay.
The Cowboys. If you want to give me a team, because they've been pretty good.
And what an interesting comparison, obviously, the Maple Leafs to Canada in their sport and the Cowboys to football. That's okay. Yeah,
the Yankees are getting there, but it's the Cowboys. To me, it's the Cowboys, David.
I mean, the Cowboys did go like 15 years without a playoff win.
Mm-hmm.
The 96 team won a playoff game, and then I don't think Romo won a playoff game until 2012. No, 09. 09. They won a playoff game in 09. So they went like 13 years without winning a playoff game.
Where is the Big Mac on your list of McDonald's sandwiches? Does it make the top 3?
Ooh.
And I know quarter pounder with cheese is 1. I get it. Double cheeseburgers should be 2.
Correct.
Question then, what is 3? Is it a 10, 20-piece McNugget, or is it a Big Mac?
Yeah, I would probably go nuggets before I'd go Big Mac. I might even go just a regular quarter pounder without.
They don't even sell those anymore, do they?
They don't? You know, I don't
like the double quarter pounder. I like the double cheeseburger. I think it's their best sandwich.
Their fish sandwich sucks. Their chicken sandwich is not good. I used to love their snack wraps.
I like the Wendy's double. Don't like the double quarter pounder with cheese.
There you go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Thanks so much for being with us. We're 9 days out from the draft, day 2 or night 2 of the NHL playoffs tonight with the Lightning and Leafs, Rangers and Devils. Getting it on. The East is nuts, intense.
There's only one series in the East that I thought there was a foregone conclusion for. Really and truly. Boston's too much for Florida.
Yeah, and the Panthers missed their opportunity last night when the Bruins for 2 periods were barely mediocre and led 3-1. So Florida's got nothing for them. Now they'll probably switch to Bobrovsky for game 2, and I don't know, maybe they could hope to steal a game 1-0 or 2-1, something like that. But I mean, Bergeron didn't play last night for Boston, and they still won pretty routinely.
But I mean, if the Islanders upset Carolina, would you be surprised, shocked?
No, I wouldn't. Carolina didn't finish the season all that great, and they don't score a ton of goals. So you could see where they could get out 2-1, if you know what I mean. I mean, that's what you think the Lightning are going to do to the Leafs. You think Vasilevsky's going to win the series at the end of the day. 2-1, 3-2. And I think the Leafs just have too much firepower for them. The West is completely wide open. Completely wide open. Now, there are certain teams that they think would match up better with whoever comes out of the East. But you and I were going through it before. I mean, we think there's at least four teams in the East better than whoever comes out of the West.
You know, and I look at the Kraken as a team. I don't see them doing anything in the postseason. But outside of that, Kings beat Edmonton, took them to 7 games last year, and won game 1.
And didn't have Drew Doughty last year and took them to 7. And they were up 3-2.
Double overtime game in the Wild Star series.
And most people thought that was, I mean, those 2 series, by the way, Edmonton and Dallas both only finished 5 points ahead of the team they're playing. I mean, 5 points over 6 months. Are you serious? The one thing I said, and, you know, Minnesota proved it true. Minnesota, no team in the playoffs has lived in overtime and shootouts the way the Wild did. The Wild only had 34 regulation wins. Out of 82 games, they only had 34 regulation wins. But they lived in overtime and shootouts. What'd they do? 1 game 1 against Dallas, overtime. Hey, Mark, we saw the Canadians, last Canadian team to win a cup. The 93 Canadians won what, 9-10 games in overtime out of their 16 wins in the playoffs that year? I think they won 10 of them in overtime. mean, some years it's your year, baby. You win all those games.
And I guess I'll say 3 teams because Winnipeg has no shot to win the Stanley Cup.
No, but they could win a first-round series with that goalie, who's a top 5 goalie in the league when he's on this game. Hellebuck. Hey, we've talked a lot about Leafs Lightning. Series starts tonight. You're picking the Lightning in 7. I'm picking the Leafs in 6. Rooting for the Lightning, but picking the Leafs. Do we have another team? We tried to educate because we know not everybody's into hockey. We've tried to educate you on what it is that the Leafs are, all the baggage that they're bringing into this series as an organization. Haven't won a playoff series in 19 years. Haven't won the cup in 56. Hell, I don't think they've been in the cup in over 50. And they got a bunch of talented guys on their team, and they haven't done squat in the postseason. Some heart-wrenching playoff defeats, too. They had a series with the Bruins like a decade ago in which they had a Game 7 in Boston. They got a 4-1 lead in the third, 4-2 lead with like 2 minutes to go. End up losing the game in overtime. I mean, just an unbelievable collapse.
Epic collapse in that game.
And it was like, oh, they're a good young team. Don't worry. They'll be back. They'll get over it. Yeah, they haven't won squat. Do we have another team in another sport like the Leafs? I mean, Felipe brought up the Knicks, and I said to him, well, the history, the 50, this is 50 years since the Knicks last won their title. But the Knicks have had one good team in the last 20 years until this one. This one's pretty good. This is a good team.
Isn't it the Cowboys?
Whew. So the Cowboys went from 96 to 09 without winning a playoff game. And I believe since then, Romo won his second playoff game in 2014. Dak won a playoff game in 2018, and they beat Tampa this past year. So, I don't know. I mean, but obviously haven't been to a conference championship game in almost 30 years. The 95 team that won the Super Bowl is the last Dallas team to make it to a conference championship game. The Leafs in Canada are the Cowboys. Correct?
Very much so. Very much so.
That the Canadians are the Steelers or, because they have far more cups and what have you. Okay, but in terms of popularity, the Leafs are the Cowboys.
I think that's who it is. And I know Dallas has won a couple of playoff games, but there have been no runs. They have underachieved in the postseason far more than they've overachieved. They've had great regular seasons only to have playoff misery.
I don't know when's the last time the Cowboys were a betting underdog in a playoff game and they won it. I mean, when they beat the Bucks, they were favored. 4 years earlier, when they beat Seattle at home, they were favored. Romo's team that beat the Lions in 2014 was favored. I don't know the last time the Cowboys. I mean, Mark, you might have to go back to when Aikman and the boys went to Frisco in 92 and won their first NFC championship game. That's also the last time they won a road playoff game. I think it's the last time the Cowboys have won a playoff game as an underdog.
Because we went through the Bruins and Celtics yesterday on the show, and that they've had long droughts without a championship, but they've made deep playoff runs. They've gotten to the finals in both sports.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's amazing to think. And Sean McDonough repeated our line early in the broadcast last night, which he said it's been 50 years. Okay, and the Bruins have won one cup in 50 years. Yeah, but they've been to like 7 finals and like 11 conference finals. And they make the playoffs damn near every year. I mean, you could ask a Boston sports fan, when's the last time the Bruins were bad? And they'll go, hell, I can't remember the last time they were average.
So to me, it's the Cowboys. 21,000 is our text line. If you have any other offers to us, 21000. If you've never texted the show before, FSN radio is the keyword. You have to send that to 21,000, and then you're in.
See the Braves and all the, but they snuck in that one title. Yeah, they lost like 4 or 5 World Series around it, but they got that one.
And they got to the World Series. They had to win a series to get there. It's not, this is 19 years without winning a series.
Right.
How hard that is to do in the National Hockey League?
It's staggering, actually. For goodness sakes, the Arizona Coyotes got to a Western Conference final. The Arizona Coyotes. The Minnesota Wild have been in a Western Conference final. So that's kind of the baggage. That's what we're talking about here. and they've got to meet the franchise that in the last 5 years has been the best damn winning franchise in the sport.
And your reward, if you win, is to get the best regular season team in the history of the league.
I think they'll be so happy, tickled to death. All right. Mark, remember when streaking was big? The Leafs will feel like they're playing naked against the Bruins. They'll be just so damn happy. Honestly, they'll feel so much lighter. They'll feel like they're 140 pounds. They'll be so carefree against the Bruins. Every day they'll show up at the rink. We're in the second round of the playoffs. We're in the second round.
Hey, if the Leafs beat the Lightning, which I still think's a big if, you're totally right in that the pressure then shifts completely from Toronto back to Boston. Then it's the old President's Cup thing, winning the regular season title and having to do it in the postseason. And if Toronto wins, there will be a lot of momentum going in their favor.
The Leafs goaltending is, I got to admit, that does concern me.
It should.
Because their goaltending last year was good enough to win the series. Going into the series last year, wasn't it Frederik Andersen last year? And he was good. He was really good, in fact. In fact, they needed a win in Tampa, and it was either game 3 or game 4. He was fantastic. Got them a win that they didn't deserve to have. And I'm like, wow, if I knew the Leafs were going to get this kind of goaltending, I'd have picked the Leafs. And when they didn't win with that kind of goaltending last year, good, solid goaltending, I'm like, oh, man. And then, of course, they let them go.
The other person this could be, if it's not the Cowboys, is it Rory?
But see, does Rory get... No. But does Rory get the pass because of the, what he did between 2011 and 2014?
I think so.
Are the Leafs Phil before Phil finally won the Masters? Because remember, to add to Phil's misery, Mike Weir wins the Masters in 2003, so Phil doesn't even become the first lefty to win the Masters. People were looking at him like, dude, what the hell? This obviously isn't that hard. Mike Weir just won it. What's your problem?
So that's a little of the weight that we think is on Toronto. Try to give you a little perspective with teams and people and players that might be a little closer to you.
And doesn't Dak Prescott look about 30, 40, 50 pounds heavier in the playoffs? All the weight that's on him with the Cowboys? Yeah, Logic Man in the Twitch chat room brought up my Rangers. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially this series. Oh, yeah. Need to beat the Devils. Yeah. No question. Team that's made the playoffs once in the last 10 years. Yeah.
But the Rangers have won series, unlike Toronto, and that's, they can't even get through the first round.
No, it's true. Somebody mentioned the Sixers. Now, I will say, they haven't gotten to the conference finals since Iverson in over 20 years. But it ain't the Leafs kind of pressure. That's the point we're making. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Chris Smith, did you see this, David? Oh, you don't have it on.
What?
Chris Smith was playing in the XFL, played for the Browns and the Jags.
Like 30 years old, right?
Died. 31.
So the Good Samaritan.
Oh, my God. That's right. His girlfriend was killed right after the birth of their daughter. She was killed in a car accident. So now the daughter has lost both of her parents before her 4th birthday. Good gracious.
So the kid in Missouri there, it's Missouri, right? The 16-year-old on the front porch, black kid who got shot. Yeah. So apparently he went staggering next door. Did the kid, pounding on a door saying, I need help. I've been shot. And I guess a guy next door who was in the shower heard the gunshot, ran downstairs, saw the kid, ran outside. And he was an Eagle Scout. And so he said, well, my old Eagle Scout training, about, wounds and, he said, I just, apply pressure on it. He said, but I thought the kid was going to die.
Apparently there was one in New York, too, where someone pulled into the wrong driveway and the guy shot the car and 20-year-old woman died.
Yeah, she pulled into the wrong driveway.
Right.
Come on. What? Apparently this guy not only shoots him through like his window, then as the kid's laying on the ground having been shot, he walks outside, he shoots him again. And they actually waited 2 days to charge him. Now we're good. Everything's fine. No, we're good. Everybody keep doing what we're doing. It's all good.
They literally have a graphic up on Get Up right now that says, "Is Connor McDavid ready to become the face of the NHL?" He has been for 3 years.
Say, are you guys ready to accept him?
Greeny's sitting down with Bettman right now, and that's the questions there. Obviously I can't hear it. Are you kidding me?
Oh, please.
Are you absolutely kidding me?
Mike Greenberg, who hasn't been to a hockey game in 20 years.
At least.
I'll bet you the last time Greeny was to a hockey game was when he was working in Chicago in the mid-90s.
That's what I was going to say. I was 100%. If he went to any then. Basketball guy. He cut his teeth on the Bulls, for crying out loud. Pretty easy to see why he'd be a huge basketball guy.
Daryl Sutter won the power struggle in Calgary. That is not good for Jonathan Huberdeau, because I do not think he's a Daryl Sutter kind of player.
No, I would agree with that.
I don't know how you trade him, though, with that contract, but he's a playmaker. He is not Sutter's kind of guy.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. NBA playoffs resuming tonight with 3 series and their game 2. Hawks, Celtics, Knicks, Cavs, Clippers, Suns. 2 home teams needing wins to even those series. I think Phoenix wins tonight.
They better. I mean, the stats are there for Golden State as well. Teams that go down 0-2 are 8% chance of winning.
First time, by the way, Golden State in 0-2 hole in the Steph Curry era.
Tell you what, though, they've been down 3-1 before.
Yeah, they have. But they've never been down 2-0 in a series. Phoenix is I think Phoenix wins tonight as well.
Now, I will say they're down 2-0 to Sacramento. Most people feel then that series is even because they think Golden State's just going to go home and win 2.
I totally think they're going to go home and win 2. I picked the Warriors. After watching parts of games 1 and 2, hard not to root for the Kings.
It's hard not to root for their fan base.
Exactly. I don't know why I'm so hard on Toronto and I want Sacramento to win.
Is this a Canadian bias that's coming out?
A little bit.
It's the tipping, isn't it?
It is. Tipping. It really is. They're terrible tippers.
And you are fond of and know so many people in the service industry. That's what this ultimately comes down to.
But I also, having spent nearly 20 years working in professional hockey, I know a lot of Canadians.
I know. Some good friends, too. All right. Hurts $51 million. Let's just and we had Pat Kirwan on last hour. And Felipe, by the way, if you're looking for a quote, you can pull the quote from Pat, in which he talks about, there's going to be 8 quarterbacks making $50 million or more in the next year or so. Because we got 2 now. Aaron Rodgers, technically first digits of 5. Short-term deal, though. Don't know how much longer he's going to play. And Hurts now, he won't make it this year. But when the contract goes into effect in a year, he'll make 51. Okay. Tua. What are you going to be able to get him for? He has a good year. He stays relatively healthy. They make the playoffs. They're, they have some success. What's it going to cost you?
45
Now,
minimum.
If you compare them to Mahomes and Josh Allen, who are both making mid-40s, but we all know that's not how it works. Free agency in sports, it's all about the last contracts, when you signed your deals. That's why we both thought Josh Allen and Mahomes made huge mistakes.
Left so much money on the table. It's undeniable.
I mean, we thought Mahomes left 9 figures on the table, over $100 million.
Personally, bad move for Mahomes. He'll make it up in endorsements, and if the team's good, it pays off 10 times over. I mean, there's a little bit of Brady-esque of what Mahomes is doing in Kansas City. He gave the team a discount. But I don't know if Tua gets Hurts money because of the injuries that he's had. I don't know if he can get the 51. It might be just a little less.
But think about that. Now you're going to have to start, if he has a good year, doesn't even have to be a great year. If he has a good year, what do you do with the Chargers with Justin Herbert? What do you do if you're the Jags and Trevor Lawrence? Because, listen, it'd be a big deal, sorry, Mark, in Jacksonville, if the Jags just follow up winning the division last year with winning the division this year.
Would be enormous. David, I'm so glad you said that. Because right now, nobody outside of Adam in our Twitch chat room has faith in the Jags to do anything for year 2. They like them, but there's no track record of the Jags being able to have consecutive seasons like this.
Right. I mean, when the team was 6 minutes from the Super Bowl one year and then had 4 straight losing seasons the next, it was like, well, wait a minute. We don't have faith in this franchise. They should. I mean, they're clearly going to be the favorites to win that division this year. I can't imagine that Tennessee is going to make moves here in the next 2 weeks that's going to put them as the pick in that division. And if the Colts get a quarterback, so what? By the way, it looks like C.J. Stroud may fall into the Colts' lap at 4. That's the word. Or they may only have to move up to 3 to get him. I mean, Nick Cesario didn't deny yesterday. I mean, he didn't all but come out and say, but he gave strong hints that we're not necessarily going quarterback at 2. And are we listening if somebody wants to pick? Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But I do think we have to really give it up for the Eagles. I think the Eagles should be applauded today for getting this deal done before Burrow, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and being first means something. Kansas City was first with Mahomes. They got that deal done. In the books. And I think the Eagles should be applauded today for getting this deal done.
The other point that Pat made, which is quickly happening, is, right now the Ravens are able to get away with tagging Lamar with only 32 and change. And he's like, yeah, in the next 12 months with the contracts that are going to be done, that franchise tag is going to be at least mid-40s.
And then he started talking about the D-tackle franchise tag being at around the 20 mark.
Because it's at 18 now. Donald's making 31, by the way. The next wave starts at around 22, 23. And Pat rattled off 5 defensive tackles who are all going to have to be re-signed in the next year, if not in the next coming months. So I will say this. Now that if the average very good quarterback is going to be making 50 plus in the NFL, if you can find a young one, like these teams that are passing on quarterbacks in the draft, you sure? Could save yourself a lot of money.
And if you pick right, just think what you can do.
Although you could also argue, if you're Houston, we ain't going to be good for a couple of years, which means we're going to waste 2 of our 4 very affordable years with this guy So how great of a deal is this? This isn't like Russell Wilson, who took the Seahawks to the second round of the playoffs as a rookie and back-to-back Super Bowls in year 2 and year 3. That's another reason why Jalen Hurts, what does he do year 3? Takes him to the Super Bowl. Year 3.
And then got paid 51 per, of which 70% is guaranteed.
And amazingly, and we don't know the breakdown of the contract. By the way, did you see the story that was circulating yesterday? How Jalen Hurts' agent got him?
DM'd him.
She sent him a DM late in his college career and said, "Hey, you have an agent? I'd like to represent you." Ha! Ha! She also sent out a tweet yesterday saying, I'm going to celebrate tonight.
As well she should.
But we don't know how the contract's structured, but we do know this. His salary cap hit this year is $6 million. Next year's 13.5. The following 2 years, the cap hits 22 and 32 million. Wow. Think about his cap hit for the next 4 years, Mark. Do some quick math here. $73.5 million for 4 years. His average cap hit the next 4 seasons is $18.5 million.
And then in 27, it's going to be $67 million.
It's going to be Connecticut.
Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, the ugly. Today was the day when what's on tap. All still ahead right here on the Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
And Logic Man, this is the importance of if you've picked up the 5th-year option. See, the Giants had absolutely no leverage. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option. Jones was technically a free agent. So they were either going to have to tag him or sign him. And if they tagged him, they couldn't tag Barkley. By the way, I guess David Samson had technical difficulties. They tried to do it at 8. It didn't work.
Huh.
So he's doing it at 9.
I'm going to have to subscribe to the damn Tampa Bay Times. It's annoying. Would be nice if the Gannett papers offered you a Sunday ticket.
A bundle where if you pay it, you can get them all.
Yeah. I mean, they get you with this 99 cents for 3 months, and they clip you for $3 because you forget about it. So you get $6 for 4 months. $26 and $308 are teams that go down 2-0 in a series in the NBA.
As Felipe pointed out, though, the Warriors did come back from 3-1 down against Oklahoma City in the conference final.
I know.
Oh.
Also, didn't they blow one up 3-1 too?
Yeah, pretty big one.
Pretty big. Never underestimate Game 6 Clay.
Hops, what are your what's your hash brown order? It's all I really care about right now.
We're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$22 minutes till the top of the hour, 16 until we're out of here. Tuesday edition of Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Seth Everett will join us on the show tomorrow. The Heat back in action tomorrow, as will the Panthers be. Sticking with this whole Florida theme and all. As the NBA and NHL playoffs really start to get going. So you'll want to join us then.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
1783, George Washington issues a general order announcing the end of hostilities with Britain, giving thanks to the Almighty, and offering congratulations and authorizing an extra ration of alcohol to the troops to celebrate.
There you go.
I like it.
Hearts and minds, Mark. Hearts and minds.
1861, Colonel Robert E. Lee turns down an offer to command the Union armies. Probably a bad move.
Probably. I think, as it turns out, definitely.
1906, San Francisco earthquake and fire kills nearly 4,000 while destroying 75% of the city.
Yeah, that's 8.0, I believe. 7.9, 8.0. That's big.
The Maple Leafs come back from 3-0 down in 42 to beat the Red Wings in 7 and win the Stanley Cup.
And for the longest time, they were the only team to come from 3-0 down. They're still the only team to do it in the finals.
Today in 1955, David, was the first "Don't Walk, Walk" lighted street sign signal.
Where?
That I knew you were going to ask it and didn't have it for me. It just said it was today.
I mean, was hoping it's like in a big city. I'd hate for it to have been in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Record crowd of 78,682 watched the Dodgers beat the Giants today in 58 at the LA Coliseum.
And if you're wondering how in the world they play baseball in the LA Coliseum, well, it was a mess. It was like 270 down the left field line.
59, the Canadians win their 4th straight title, beating the Leafs. 62, the Celtics beat the Lakers in 7 because, well, that's what the Celtics do. 63, the Maple Leafs go back-to-back, defeating the Wings this time. 64, Sandy Koufax strikes out the side on 9 pitches for the 3rd time in his career.
By the way, is everybody paying attention to this? NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals were over.
Right.
Mid-April. Over. Done.
Done.
No need to keep playing.
Today in 66, Bill Russell becomes the first African-American coach in NBA history. Today in 87, David, Michael Schmidt hits his 500th home run.
Michael Jack Schmidt off Don Robinson in Pittsburgh.
Joe Montana announces his retirement from football today in 95. Peyton Manning is the first pick of the Colts today in 98. And in 99, Gretzky plays his last game in the NHL as the Rangers lose to the Penguins.
With like 3 weeks left in his career, and he knew he was hanging him up. He hadn't announced it yet. He didn't announce it till like the final week. He had an off day, and it turned out it was like going to be maybe his last full off day. No travel, no hockey, no nothing involved. And Gretzky spent his last real off day in the NHL doing publicity for the Carolina Hurricanes and hockey in the Raleigh area because the franchise was off to a rough start and they needed it.
Those celebrating birthdays today, actor James Woods is 76, Nate Archibald 75, Jeff Bodine is 74, Wilbur Marshall 61, Conan O'Brien 60, and Derek Brooks is 50 today.
Do you have the guts to walk up to Derek Brooks and say, "Hey, old man"?
No, I was going to ask how many plays do you think he could give you right now?
Oh, it's true. Probably give you about 25.
What'd I miss?
Dick Clark died 11 years ago today. That's about it. I mean, a little this, little that. But, that's, to me, that's the biggie.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I don't know. For the good today, we go to Aston, Pennsylvania, where David, a pizza driver by the name of Tyler Morrell, is a hero. A high-speed police chase ended in a cul-de-sac where Tyler was delivering a pizza. As the stolen car traveled across the lawn before he jumped out to run from the police, Tyler basically told him, "Don't hit my car!" As he ran by, he threw his leg out, tripped the 17-year-old suspect who went airborne, fell to the ground, and police quickly took the suspect into custody. He then went and delivered the pizza. Large, half plain, half pepperoni.
Mark, all pizza drivers are heroes to me. And by the way, there's video of it, okay, to confirm his heroism. The only thing he did wrong, he had rang the doorbell and the customer came to the door. And as she was coming to the door and opening it, he started walking down the sidewalk, and she was kind of left standing there for about 15 seconds. But my guess is she was entertained by the whole cop cars and the thing, and so he got away with it. Would have been really tight to do the, exchange and then race and trip the guy.
We go to Clewiston for the bad, where suspects entered an arcade trying to rob the arcade. The armed security guard on duty fired a single shot at the suspect. He took off. Turned out that the guy trying to rob the arcade was using a BB gun. Wrong gun, pal.
Yeah.
Chad Mitchell was arrested after he took off in his stolen vehicle and was arrested on a litany of charges. Don't bring a BB gun to a gunfight.
Is stupidity a felony or a misdemeanor?
Should be a felony. Speaking of stupid, rotten, and horrible, let's go to the ugly, where an employee of a New Rochelle Buffalo Wild Wings didn't want to work. Called out on sick. Then started making threatening text messages of what was going to happen to the restaurant the next day.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. I won't get into how grotesque the texts were, but it was pretty easy after people called authorities to track down the Bronx woman who wasn't going to work that day. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, April the 18th, 2023.
We're being told that we missed a biggie, and today was the day when. Or I don't know if it's a biggie. It's at least noteworthy. Apparently, the original Yankee Stadium opened 100 years ago today, and Ruth homered. So that's worth mentioning. I'll give you that. All right. Appreciate the reminder or two. Hey, it'd be nice if they still kept it. I mean, I don't know. Seemed to work okay for a really long time. They even remodeled the inside and everything. How many World Series have they won in the new place?
What's that number again?
One. Won a bunch of them in the old place. Bunch of them. Anyway. Listen, it's kind of confusing tonight with the hockey. 4 games on 3 different networks. This is one of the rare times where both the Disney channels and the Turner channels are involved on the same night. Because Rangers Devils gets TBS at 7. The Mothership, as Dan Patrick calls it, gets the Lightning and the Leafs at 7:30. And then the Deuce gets Winnipeg and Vegas at 9:30. Before the Mothership gets the Kraken and the Avs. I have no idea why the Rangers Devils is on TBS. I mean, I know why it's on Turner or why it's on TBS as Turner goes, because TNT is the hoops, but I don't know. That's strange. Usually one outlet has one league and the one outlet has the other.
Well, Hawks and Celtics tonight, you're going to have to find it on NBA TV.
Think about that. They put the Boston Celtics on NBA
TV. This is kind of like Duke Carolina on the Deuce when no one had the Deuce, David.
They put the Boston Celtics on NBA TV. Rangers Devils on TBS. Boston Celtics on NBA TV. The TNT double dip, 7:30, Knicks, Cavs. By the way, Cavs is a 6-point favorite on TNT. They're saying no Josh Hart for the Knicks. And Phoenix, an 8.5-point favorite over the Clippers, 10 o'clock on TNT.
I think I'd take the points. I just think it'll be closer than that.
Knicks have beaten the Cavs 4 out of 5 meetings this year, if you include game 1. I do think Cleveland wins tonight. Would you lay the 10 with the Celtics? I would take the points. Atlanta had a horrible first quarter and a half. They actually played pretty well the rest of the way. I'd take the 10.
Pass. If I had to, I'd take the points.
It's on NBA TV. Who's going to know? Game 1 tonight. Lightning or Leafs? Who do you like?
Lightning.
Oh, my goodness.
2-1.
Might as well make it overtime and really painful.
Oh, could you do that for me?
How about double OT?
That's asking a lot, but OT would be nice.
By the way, what does ESPN do if that happens? If Lightning Leafs goes overtime, they've got Winnipeg, Vegas on the deuce, and they're holding it. What are they going to put Seattle and Colorado on news? What are they going to do with that?
I'm waiting for it, to be brutally honest, David. With all the way these are scheduled, they're going to get an early game that's going to go a couple overtimes, and they're going to have to move it to news.
Baseball, it's a weird night. There's not one series. I mean, everybody's playing. In fact, Cleveland and Detroit and the Phillies and the White Sox are playing a double dip. But there's not one series right now that involves 2 winning teams. 15 series. Can't get 2 winning teams to play each other. Best you can do is the 500 Angels at the 10-6 Yankees. Otherwise, just about every series is good team, bad team, good team, bad team. It's weird.
Sox are really close to 500. They're playing the Twins. That one's...
Yeah, and Seattle's 8-9, and they're playing Milwaukee. I mean, but it's interesting that you literally... 15 series. You don't have 2 winning teams playing each other.
What's fantastic is the Diamondbacks are playing the Cardinals, and the Diamondbacks are the team with the record over 500.
And the Marlins are playing the Giants, and the Marlins are the team over 500.
There you go.
Both the Rays and the Marlins first pitch at 6:40. By the way, anybody run into any problems last night? Because in Jacksonville, I had baseball on Bally's, and I had hockey on, the ESPN family of networks. I just didn't know. Because usually, first round, Panthers and Lightning.
Deal.
What?
They're all ESPN or TNT.
Okay. I thought first round was on local. And I just wondered if anybody ran into a blackout situation or a problem.
I would have had the Panthers on Bally's, and I didn't last night.
Yeah, I had both Marlins and Rays were my options. So that's what's going on tonight.
I have to be honest. I forgot the Marlins and Rays were even playing last night. The hockey playoffs started.
I just checked out. I saw the Rays in an early deficit. I went, what the heck? We'll say both their games, Rays and Marlins, start at 6:40 tonight. With the way baseball's moving, that means those games are over by 9-ish. Leafs win tonight. 4-2.
So you're laying the 1.5 that I think you'd have to lay to bet it. I'd take it. They outplayed them the last time they played and didn't outplay them on the scoreboard. Outshot them, outchanced them. We'll see what happens tonight. Leafs and Lightning should be a great series. Miller and Moulton, have a great rest of your day. We'll do it all over again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. right here, Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again,